Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ing. Joyce, it's the moment we've been waiting for. Our final, in quotes, Oscar nominations picks for 2024.
Who's waiting for this?
A lot of people. So many people
Are
have been
they?
asking. Many people are saying. Joyce, I'm so excited to do this. This will be the longest show we've ever done because we're going to do this, all the categories, 23 categories, and then we're going to do emails, and then we're going to take a pause because we're doing this Wednesday and then talk about the BAFTA nominations, which are coming out on Thursday. So when you're watching this, you're going to be like, oh, these guys are just different clothes, but it's over 2 days.
And then by the time we do BAFTA tomorrow, you will have made changes.
Absolutely.
Your Oscar.
That's a big asterisk here for a lot of these picks, but maybe not because the BAFTA picks are not super indicative because of their way they do it. We'll see. But there are certain ones, certainly in the acting categories, where I'm a little flummoxed on what we're going to do. How are you feeling about your picks before we start?
Some categories I'm probably not going to change anything,
Yeah.
and others I'm very torn on like a spot or two.
Yeah, it comes down to the spot or two. That's what
Yeah.
separates the wheat from the chaff, I think, right? Is that the
So
thing?
I might make changes before Tuesday.
Yeah. Uh, Great season, I would say, overall. Now the voting is over.
Yeah, voting ended yesterday, Tuesday, the 16th.
All
So,
right. So we're going to start at the bottom. If you're watching along, some people actually, last time we did this, some people were like, we do follow along. I'm not making this up. So
but they opened their apps. Oh my God, guys.
if you're opening the app or on the website at goldderby.com, we're going to start at the bottom and go right to the top. So we're starting with best live action short. Joyce and I'm going to speak for me. Not a lot of deep thought into this yet, but once the nominations are here, I will have more thought, I guess.
Yeah, but with the shorts, I try not to go with the exact five
Same.
in the odds.
So for live action short, here's what I have: Wonderful World of Henry Sugar, the Wes Anderson short; the Anne Frank Gift Shop; Good Boy; Red, White, and Blue; and An Avocado Pit.
Interesting. I have Henry Sugar, The After, Red, White, and Blue, Anne Frank, and Good Boy.
So do we have four of the five?
Uh,
No.
yes,
Yes.
because you have avocado,
I have
and I have.
Avocado. You have After. After is a very buzzy Netflix short with David Oyelowo, I think, right? Is he in it?
Hmm.
And they did an
That's the one
event.
that Meghan Markle
Yes.
did the Q&A for.
So it's got a big imprimatur there of royalty. Misan Harriman is the director, who is, I think, a acclaimed fashion photographer, and this is his first
Mhm. And
debut.
Archie wanted the same camera.
Yes. It's about, here's the synopsis basically. In the midst of his grief, a rideshare driver picks up a passenger who ends up helping him come to terms with his past. To watch it on Netflix. I went with an avocado pit choice instead.
Mhm.
A trans woman and a cis man meet one night in Lisbon who use dance to strip away their differences.
Yeah, I thought about that. I also thought about Night of Fortune.
Yes.
So,
Night of Fortune.
I
Yeah.
also had Invincible in there for a couple weeks.
Yes. Night of Fortune is produced by Kim Magnuson, who won in the category twice. And what was the other one? Invincible, I thought of two files. The final 2 days in the life of Mark Anton Bernier, a teenager as the teenager desperately searches for freedom. You can watch that on YouTube. Like I said, the others, Red, White, and I don't think in our odds, these are not the top five.
But no, the top five in the odds are Henry Sugar, Anne Frank, The After, The Shepherd, and Strange Way of Life. Neither of which we don't have that Strange Way of Life, which
Oh,
is
I've had the fortune of seeing it, so that's why I don't have it.
that what I just feel like I think people are just predicting it just for the name alone.
Yes,
You
it's got
know,
the Famos in it,
yeah.
and Pedro Almodovar directed it. Not one that I would say I was a super fan of.
Hmm. Whereas like Henry Sugar, Wes Anderson, I do feel like that has a better chance of getting in.
So I agree. I would say of a personal preference because a lot of people really love that one. I think it's the worst of the four Roald Dahl shorts, but the other ones are not here. So I think most people probably liked it enough, and I think it'll get in. Um, I guess we don't have to spend much more time on this because we'll just wait to see. But I think if you're going chalk in the odds, that's usually a great recipe for 2 out of 5.
Um, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I try not to do the top five because I feel like those top five are set because of the initial people who predict them, and then later on when people come to predict, they just copy the same five because
Correct.
they're not familiar with them.
Correct. For best documentary short choice, here are my five. A little more closer to the consensus, maybe unfortunately for me, but I have the ABCs of book banning, The Last Repair Shop, The Last Song from Kabul, Deciding Vote, and Camp Courage.
I have Last Repair Shop, Last Song from Kabul, Deciding Vote, ABCs of Book Banning, and Nai Nai and Waipo, which is like dead last, I think, in the odds.
It's third to last. Neither one of us have The Barber of Little Rock, which is third in the odds. And I did actually think about this
I
one.
thought about that too.
Directed by John Hoffman, who's won 4 Emmys. It's about here's a synopsis. As he sees the widening gap of wealth and racial equality in Little Rock, Arkansas, Barber Arlo Washington starts a nonprofit community bank that mainly caters to underserved residents of his community.
Yeah, I mostly didn't do that just so I wouldn't have the top five.
So the sixth in the odds is Camp Courage, which we both have. That one.
No, I don't have Camp Purge.
Oh, you don't? Which one do you? Oh, you have. Sorry.
I have Nai Nai.
There you go. Well, Camp Courage, which I have. After being evacuated due to the war in Ukraine, a young girl attends a summer camp with her grandmother in the Alps. I was like, Ukraine in. I'm just putting it in.
Yeah, I thought about that. I also thought about Oasis and
Mm-hmm.
Bear
What is so I won't even Nine
and Black Girls play. I think I actually had Black Girls play in there
a
for a
lot of
while.
good doc shorts.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the one you put in. Nine and I don't know.
Nai so this is oops. So I think yeah, Disney acquired it, but it's a about it's from Sean Wong.
Mhm.
It's about his two grandmothers. So it's like multi-generational family.
Family's
Yeah.
always great here too in this
Mhm.
category. Issues in family. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, and I think it won the audience award at South by Southwest. It won
Mm-hmm.
like an audience award somewhere. So
Nice. All right. And then the last short choice that we're gonna do, animated short. Here are my picks. Letter to a Pig. War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. Humo, Boom, and I'm Hip.
this so I currently have Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Pete, War is Over, and Once Upon a Studio, which I want to drop.
I dropped. That's first in the odds, mind you. I do not
Yeah,
have
and
it.
like it's like so snubbable, but I can't decide what I want to replace it with.
So Once Upon a Studio, for those at home,
It's just like Disney like circle jerk.
Disney SpawnCon. A
Yeah.
who's who of Disney animated characters come together for a group photo in celebration of the studio's 100th anniversary. This is a year of Disney where it's going to be tough for them to get a lot of traction in any of these movies, including their animated feature Elemental, which we'll talk about when we do anime feature. Uh, Pretty much one of the worst years overall for Disney in recent history, I would argue. No offense to Disney, great brand, but not the greatest year. You've seen the headlines, and then to me, I was like, is it really going to get in for this celebration of Disney in a year when people maybe aren't as super
Yeah,
psyched
I
about it?
mostly have it as a placeholder because I was like, I need a fifth one here, and I don't think it's gonna be this.
So Letter of a Pig is second. Letter to a Pig is second in the odds. We both have that one.
Mhm.
That one just sounds like it could win, frankly, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
Just briefly reading the synopsis there, if I could find it. A survivor of the Holocaust writes a thank you letter to the pig that saved his life.
Yeah, it's just like, war, trauma.
And I have War is Over and you have War is Over, inspired by the music of
Mhm.
John and Yoko. Pretty
I
much
just did that
sounds
mostly for the names.
self-explanatory. In an alternate reality where World War I rages on, two soldiers from different sides play a game of chess using carrier pigeons to make their moves. It's directed by Dave Mullins, who was a nominee here previously. Which were the other three you had?
95 Senses and
Yes,
Heat.
right.
So for my fifth spot, I was torn between Smoke Humo,
Mhm.
parentheses smoke, I think,
Yes.
and A Kind of Testament.
Well, I have Humo,
Hmm.
parentheses smoke.
I know. I think I might just do that because it's like Holocaust.
A young boy named Daniel takes a train to a bleak destination that's known only as the smokehouse.
Hmm.
I did Boom.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
Two birds that aren't very bright try to protect their eggs in the midst of a volcano's eruption. Was a gold medal for animation at this year's Student Academy Awards. And then I did
Yeah.
I'm Hip for my
Hmm.
last one, which was directed by John Musker, who is a famed animation director, including Princess and the Frog and Moana. So I just was
Hmm.
like, put him in.
I also thought about Dog Apartment,
Yeah.
which
This is another
has
category with a lot of options. Feels great.
if it has a lot of options, and I really like I don't know what's really ahead because I think like Once Upon a Studio is a red herring.
Yes. Uh,
So
Absolutely. I think it's an easy one to imagine just getting in because it's got famous people. It's a famous studio thing, but I was just like, I don't know.
yeah. So I'm gonna drop it. I'll drop it for Humo.
All right. Now we're back to the main, not short films, Joyce.
Not
Next up
short
is,
films, you mean feature films?
yes, international film. Here are my nominees, Joyce. The Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, The Taste of Things, Perfect Days, and The Teacher's Lounge.
Okay. I have. Oh wait, this is the close. I have to go backwards, so it's going to the wrong category when you save. Um, I have Zone of Interest, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, 20 Days in Mariupol, and Americazzi, which is dead last.
Okay. So we split here. So I have Perfect Days and
Hmm.
The Taste of Things.
Hmm.
And you have 20 Days of Maripol and Americazzi. Okay. So neither one of us have Fallen Leaves, which is third in the odds. I've actually not heard great things about this film. I don't think people really love it. So I'm out on it.
I found it charming, but I don't know if like they will go for it.
And I wasn't convinced of Perfect Days, frankly. I do think Taste of Things will get in. I just think it would be poetic justice, though, if it didn't. So I kind of want to see it because it should be maybe Anatomy of Fall here represented for France. And it would be hilarious if that got snubbed, if Taste of Things got snubbed. But enough people seem really passionate about it that I think it will get in. Teacher's Lounge, I think, is absolutely getting in. It's in 6 in the odds, but I think that's like a just Sony Classics classic push here to get it in. Right people seeing it. And
Hmm.
then Perfect Days, it could be considered slight, but I think it's also really likable. So that was it. 20 Days of Maripol, though, I could see making it in. Obviously, it's on the doc list as well. Why'd you pick it? And why'd you pick Americazzi, more importantly? Because that's dead last in the
Well, I
odds.
think we know why, like, I don't think 20 Days is surprising.
No,
Americazzi, I did because I I think it's kind of like a crowd pleaser, and it follows an American who is arrested.
sure.
And it's from Armenia, and I think, yeah, like I think it's a dark horse. I don't know. I just didn't want to go with the consensus,
Right.
and I felt like this could get in, and it's from Emmy winner Michael A. Gorgian.
Hmm.
So, who was on also on one of my favorite USA Blue Sky shows, Covert Affairs. I talked to him for that
Oh,
like a
nice. So
decade
if you
ago.
talk like there
Also
we
on
go.
Party of Five
Right.
ages ago too.
Right. I mean, that
That's
would be
not why I'm
great.
predicting him. I'm not you. So, but I just feel like the film itself can be a dark horse. So, and then I did think about like it was mostly because I was torn between Perfect Days and Taste of Things and Fallen Leaves. So I was like, I'll just go somewhere completely left field.
Okay. I think that's great. Interesting category where Zone of Interest, I think it will be the heavy favorite to win once this is nominated, but we'll see.
Well, after PGA, I'll be like, Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I think Society of the Snow could have been a, you know, a formative rival, but I do think it kind of came too late
Yeah.
with the drop.
But one of the biggest hits ever on Netflix, it says, in terms of
Not
non-English
surprising
language
at
film.
all.
Best documentary, Joyce. Here are my nominees: 20 Days of Maripol, Beyond Utopia, American Symphony, Four Daughters, and The Eternal Memory.
Um, yeah, I have American Symphony, 20 Days, Maripol, Beyond Utopia, Four Daughters, and Eternal Memory.
You know what
That is
always
not the top five because still a Michael J. Fox movie is in the top five.
I just have a hard time imagining this branch, which is notoriously finicky against.
They're not really into like celeb biodocs.
Yes. So that's why I
So
have it out. And honestly, I almost dropped American Symphony too. It's first in the odds. And I was like, I actually cannot think of a reason why it won't get in, except for the fact that this seems like the type of film that's a crowd pleaser that people love, that's about a famous person that they would just say fuck off to. But I'm not going to do that because I think
but
it'll
I
get
don't
in.
think it's the same as like still, you know what I mean?
It's not, but if it missed, let's say I wouldn't, I'll just say this. If it misses, I will
No,
not be
but
surprised.
like if it gets in, I would be like, that's probably winning.
If it gets in, I think it wins. But if it misses, I don't think that's a surprise. I just didn't know what else to put in because it's a strong year for docs. I was kind of looking at maybe like Bobby Wine, the people's president, to slip in
Yeah,
there,
I thought about that too.
but we'll see. So we have the same five. For animated feature, Joyce. This one, I guess maybe unfortunately or fortunately, I have the top five in the odds. I have Spider-Verse, Boy and the Heron, Nimona, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I did put Elemental in, even though it missed a lot of key signifiers. I feel like I still think it'll get in.
I have the same five as well. So
Um, if you're betting against Elemental, I think it kind of flopped at the Annies, which is maybe a bad sign.
I just like I don't think it matters really, you know, when you're just like filling out the other spots.
I,
So
I also think there's a lack of consensus for what the fifth slot would be in terms of like what would pump out Elemental. I think six in the odds is Chicken Run. I feel like there's going to be strong support for there. Wish is still hanging around, though not sure that's really realistic. Mario, Robot Dreams, Suzume. I don't know.
I had Robot Dreams there in a while, but I don't know, I feel like it's like too small. That it'll be cool if it got in, but
Yeah.
I just replaced it with Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. For visual effects, Joyce, next. No Oppenheimer, which would have won if it was nominated. Missed the short list. Still can't
Got
believe it.
into VES yesterday though.
Here are my nominees. I have Poor Things, Guardians 3, The Creator, Spider-Verse, and Society of the Snow.
So I made some changes here.
I expected you might.
I have Guardians, the creator, Spidey, Society of the Snow, and Indiana Jones.
So I was going to put Indiana Jones in because it made Visual Effects Guild, and it's got showy visual effects in terms of
Yes.
Harrison Ford being de-aged. And I could see Poor Things missing. I actually think I think Poor Things will get in, actually.
I think if it gets in, it can win because, you know, what I've been saying. Best Picture Jason. It missed visual effects yesterday as a Godzilla. And
Yeah,
the Oscars don't really like Godzilla.
no,
So
I don't think
so that's
Godzilla's
why I
getting
dropped
in.
it.
Indy could definitely get in, and I'm trying to figure out if I should put it in and what I would replace it with, and if it's my personal bias against the film that is keeping me from putting it in here.
It is because we know how like you always lean with what you like and what you hate.
And while I think the shots of Harrison Ford DH actually look good, my problem was with the rest of the visual effects in the movie, which I think look not as good. So maybe I should just put it in. But then what would I drop? You drop Poor Things. You don't have it anymore.
No.
But then we have the same five, and is that really fun?
You I mean, that's up to you. I had this first, so
But then I'm copying you.
you are copying me. You don't need I don't want people to copy me.
I don't want
because
to have you
I don't
either.
want people, if it's wrong, I don't want people to blame me for leading them astray. And if I'm right, I don't want you to be right with me, you know?
I'm going to leave it out for now, but I reserve the right to change. And I think if I did, it would be indie. But I think the other four, I was actually torn on Spider-Verse because it's animated, but I think
Yeah, I'm not confident about that either, but I don't know.
I will
This
say they
category is weird.
it is, and there's not a lot of history of animated films getting in here. That
Yeah.
said, they've done an incredible job of getting the awareness of it out.
I
It's
mean, I
obviously
also thought about Napoleon.
so I almost put Napoleon instead of Society of the Snow, but I actually think Society of Snow
I
effects are
think Society is
amazing,
fine.
and it's like people have seen it now. So
Why
I'm
don't
not
you put in your fave Mission Impossible?
also made the list. I'm gonna drop Poor Things and I'm putting Mission Impossible in. So we're different, but we have the same four. And I talked to the guy from Mission Impossible,
So
so
now you got to do it.
gotta do it. All right. Fun category though without Oppie.
But if it had made the short list, it would have gotten nominated. I would have that right at number one.
Oh, and number one, it would have
And
won.
then
It
it
would
would
have
have
straight
won.
up won. It's so
Yeah.
silly that it didn't get in there. I think that's one of the most confounding snubs we've seen in recent times. For best sound, Joyce, this is another tricky one. I have uh, Oppenheimer, Maestro, Kills the Flower Moon, Zone of Interest, and Barbie.
So this, I made another change.
Sure.
I have Oppie, Maestro, Zone of Interest, Ferrari, and Barbie. So I dropped Killers.
So Barbie, I think will get in because I think it's a musical, and I think they're the
Yes.
Bake
And
Off
there's
what
like
they
action scenes too.
and I think Will Mavity had this on Twitter, like the Bake Off sound
Oh yeah, his like sound gossip. They had to do 10-minute reels.
and the Barbie reel was like the beach fight into I'm Just Ken, and I was like, that's great. There's so much great sound in there. The sound effects and the fight is awesome. You have the musical aspect of it. I know obviously they're doing the whole movies, or people are thinking about the whole movies, but just in that, I thought that was really good. I don't know. I was like, if there was two categories here, Barbie would have definitely gotten in for sound mixing, and so I feel like that is enough to get it in for sound, basically.
Yeah, and I put Zone in because I just like the sound work is so important to it, even though it's not your typical kind of like loud, boom 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 kind of sound. But it reminds me of Sound of Metal, with like also atypical kind of sound, but so
Yes.
important to the film,
Yes.
you know. So
So
I
you
think that's in.
so you
And then
dropped Flower
I
Moon.
dropped Killers because I like well, so like The Irishman also missed sound. So I was like, maybe it'll just be like that too. And it's like it's not, no pun intended, like explosive sound, except for, one big scene, really.
And that is the scene apparently that
And
they
that's the
had
scene
in the
they
reel.
submitted, their 10
Yes.
minute
Yes.
segment. So, but I felt like the other films just had flashier sound, and
So
then Zone. So
so you have what's your fifth one then in Flower Moon instead of Flower Moon?
Ferrari.
Ferrari I could see getting in. I'm not going to change yet. I also thought Napoleon and I think The Killer is still hanging around. I do
I
think
love The
it's
Killer. I
possible.
would love for The Killer to get in.
And it's what's his face, Ren Klyce, right? Who is like an all-time Oscar nominee. And so I could see it getting in, and I could see Flower Moon was missing, I guess, too. I think Barbie is actually pretty safe. The others are all safe to me.
Yeah, like you could just do the um
Top five in the
top
odds.
five.
Top five
Yeah.
is Ferrari, Zone, Flower Moon, Maestro, and Oppenheimer in reverse order. Maybe I'll drop Flower Moon and do Killer just to be
Okay.
different. I think the Killer can get, I just think the Killer can get in. I don't know.
I had that for like right after the short list. I had both Ferrari and The Killer.
It's
So
definitely,
I dropped Maestro, and I was like, that's stupid. Maestro's getting in.
I will say Maestro apparently they use the opening of the movie rather than the
Right.
cathedral scene. But I
But
also think
I think that makes sense. I think at first glance that sounds stupid, but there's a lot of mixing work in that
yes,
segment.
I
It's
think
not
it's
just
pretty
because
great.
the cathedral scene is just music.
I'm gonna put the Killer and drop Flower Moon. I could just the Killer has flopped so much in terms of awards, but I will say like it always sometimes feels like Fincher stuff could get into crafts even when it doesn't do great elsewhere, right? Like,
I mean,
and
I
this
would love it. I don't have room for it. So
Ren is a 9-time Oscar nominee. Like, I'm not going to bet against him for The Branch. The Branch likes him. For song, Joyce, I've got Barbie, What Was I Made For? Barbie, I'm Just Ken. American Symphony, It Never Went Away. Flamin' Hot, The Fire Inside, the Memorial Diane Warren spot. And then Rustin, Road to Freedom.
Same. I'm not gonna make any changes here.
Color Purple, Keep It Moving is 5th in the odds, which tells me that people haven't really updated their picks here in a while.
Yeah. I like that song, but I'm not. Spoiler alert, I don't have The Color Purple in anywhere. So
Pretty great. I might have it in one spot. I'm still torn on that one, but
but yeah, I don't
no.
really see it, and the movie's already out on VOD as
Watch it
of
now.
yesterday, after what, like 23 days in the theaters. It's been rough.
Tough beat. All right, best score, Joyce. This was agonizing me too, and I left out faves for what I think is right. I've got Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, Poor Things, Zone of Interest, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Why are you copying me? This is what I had.
I just put him
Why are you
back
just
in.
copying me?
I just put him back in. I dropped Spider-Verse and I put him in.
And here you were a month ago making fun of me for having him.
I was wrong. I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. That was stupid. You're right.
I did think about Society of Snow, Michael Giacchino, but they also haven't nominated him since Up, so it's not like he's a branch fave by any means. I think the score is really strong in the film though, so I did think about Spidey, but then I was just like, I'll just keep this 5.
The ones I was eyeing were Barbie, which I really think could make it in. And I think it would be like, people would be like, how did that get in? But I actually do think it has a legitimate shot. And Saltburn, because I think that one also has a great score. And Anthony Willis is like, I think it'll play wetter overseas. Certainly the whole film has. I don't know. But I went with Indiana Jones because you're like, it's like John Williams. So, of course.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't know. They can be very lazy there. So I think a lot of people want Boy and the Heron to get in, which would also be a great
Yeah.
nomination. I thought about that, but I don't I don't trust them to do it.
Do you think if you had to snub one of these, like the top 5, I mean, Zone of Interest is 5th in the odds, Spider-Verse is 4th. So the top 3 in the odds, is there any way that one of these gets snubbed? Oppenheimer,
I don't
Flower
think
Moon, Poor
Oppie or
Things.
Killers would be snubbed. I guess Poor Things, I don't know, but that score is also distinctive.
Pretty memorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is production design, Joyce. Here's what I got. Barbie, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Saltburn.
I have Barbie, Poor Things, Oppie, Killers, and Napoleon.
Okay. I was torn between Asteroid City and Saltburn. I went with Saltburn because I think the support for the movie overall is stronger than it is for Asteroid City, though I think Adam Stockhausen is a great production designer and probably could get in just on that alone because I think he's been nominated how many times? Let's see. He's already won an Oscar and he's got, let me count it up. It's not loading. Whatever. I almost put him in.
Yeah, I thought about Asteroid City. I don't know.
He's a 4-time nominee. He won for Grand Budapest. I just was like, it could be a lone nominee similarly to The Killer, but like I have now in sound. But I think I'm just going to stick with Saltburn. I thought Napoleon 2 can make it in. Color Purple is still 5th in the odds. Wonka up there as well.
Yeah, I think that's just lack of updates. So
do you still have Barbie winning or do you have Poor Things?
Barbie.
Yeah.
I gotta keep my Black Panther comp going. So
hair and makeup next, Joyce. I have chalk. Top 5 in the odds. Maestro, Poor Things, Oppie, Golda, and Society of the Snow.
Same.
I almost had Flower Moon in there. It's 6 in the odds. The reason I didn't put it in is because I wonder if people even pay attention to this, is that a lot of this stuff I think that would get it in for makeup was enhanced with visual effects. Not that they did anything poor on the job they did with makeup, but a lot of like the Molly like getting ill is like aided by visual effects, which is why I actually think it could have maybe made it in for visual effects, but it didn't. So what do I know?
I thought about Beau is Afraid
Hmm.
instead of Golda, but I just kept Golda.
Um, Barbie Not Here would have maybe won, similar to
And
Oppenheimer
no
and visual
Naiad.
effects. And no Naiad. Two movies I think would have definitely got in here if
Yeah.
they had the option to. For best film editing, Joyce. A great category. In the past, maybe was indicative of best picture strength, not as much maybe anymore. I have Oppenheimer, Barbie, Flower Moon, Poor Things, and Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, I have Oppie, Poor Things, Killers, Anatomy, and Barbie.
Top five in the odds are Oppie, Flower Moon, Poor Things, Barbie, and The Holdovers. Maestro sixth and Anatomy of Fall seventh. Pretty close, it looks like there. Yeah, I don't know. I thought of The Holdovers. I think it's going to be a very strong best picture play, but I think in terms of not who like I don't know. I just think the editing in these is choice. That's why I picked them. Like,
I I was torn between Barbie and Holdovers for my last spot. And I just went with Barbie because I felt like it was like a faster pace. But
yeah,
I can see Holdovers just getting in on just based on like Best Picture strength because I think it's stronger in Best Picture than Barbie is. Um, and then Anatomy, I think will get in just because it's like the editing is so crisp and like the pacing as well, like the way it moves and it's obviously playing very well across like all demos.
yeah.
So I think that'll get in. I did think about dropping Poor Things or Killers to get Holdovers into.
I think about so I thought of that too. I think if you're talking about pacing, no disrespect to the great Thelma and Poor Things as well, but those movies are not nearly as paced as well as Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, or Oppenheimer, just straight up. But I can't imagine Thelma missing for this. Like, and I think the
I know.
work
I
that
mean,
she
she missed
did,
for Wolf. You could say that was late,
I think
but
that
that
was
was
late.
also like I think that the pacing there is it feels faster.
I think Wolf was too late. I would be shocked if she missed. Poor Things I almost dropped too, but I actually was thinking of going to American Fiction because I think the editing, if it's a if it's a sneaky strong player for Best Picture, which maybe it still is, who can say? Uh, I think it would make here over the whole. I think the pacing of that movie is great, and I think the way it
It
matches
is,
around and
and then the editing is also important there too because of the way it of like specific like magic realism
yes, it's so
type
good,
scenes.
and the
So
ending I think is great. Like everything, it's like so well done. I really, really wanted to put it in. I actually had it in for a very long time, and I dropped it like maybe the last couple of weeks for Anatomy of a Fall. I'm not convinced Poor Things makes it in, but I also think it will. So I'm leaving it in for now.
yeah, I don't know. And like Holdovers also missed the long list of BAFTA for editing. So like
When I talk to friends who have seen Holdovers, the consensus seems to be why is it so long?
yes, yeah, like
And
normies.
normies think it's too long, and that the fact of the matter is you don't get to the core of the movie until like a half hour in.
Or more
I don't
like
know.
an hour in, because I would say it really starts after Angus hurts his shoulder.
And like I don't know. I don't think too long is why. Like, there's movies are not too long. They're whatever the length they're supposed to be. And certainly with Flower Moon, normals would say it's too long, probably. But I'm like, I think the editors obviously don't care about that, and they could tell good editing. But that said, I think like you're
No, I
right.
think like the
Like
length doesn't really matter.
yeah,
It's about the pacing. Like Oppie is longer than the Holdovers, but I think it's better pace
yeah.
than the Holdovers. So
Um, next up is costumes. Here's my nominations, predictions: Barbie, Poor Things, Flower Moon, Napoleon, and Oppenheimer.
I have Barbie, Poor Things, Killers, Maestro, and Oppie. I did have Napoleon in here, but then I was like, do I want costume and production to production design to match? when they usually don't,
Yeah.
you know, 5 for 5. So I put in Maestro because, you know, Mark Bridges.
Love Mark Bridges. I think he can get in. Fourth and fifth in the odds are Wonka, or Color Purple and Wonka. Not confident either one of those are going to make it here.
Well, yeah. So
Maestro could definitely make it in. I put Oppenheimer in, even though it's seventh in the odds, because it's the biggest movie and like period
yeah, I think it
costumes.
could get in on just like Best Picture strength, and the costuming is underrated because people just see it as a bunch of suits,
Right.
you know. But I do think like Oppenheimer's look is iconic, like the hat and his, you know, loose trousers and everything.
A lot of
And
times
it'll
they try
also
to
be
do.
Ellen Roznick's first Oscar
Right.
nomination. She's never been nominated before, and
You've
she's done.
interviewed her.
I did, so I
Yeah,
gotta predict her if I were
obviously.
you. So
Obviously. Cinematography is next choice. Here's what I came up with. Top 5 in the odds. Really went out on a limb. Oppenheimer, Flower Moon, Poor Things, Maestro, and Zone of Interest.
okay, I just did the ASC 5. So
Okay.
Oppie, Poor Things, Killers, Maestro, and El Conde, because it's black and white.
Can't argue with that. I still think the Zone of Interest to make it in. I think it's such a strong. I think it's so strong that it would make it in.
I had it, and I I think it can, um, but I just swapped it for the ASC
Makes sense.
5.
Perfect sense. And Ed Lackman, just an incredible, iconic cinematographer. So
Yeah,
why
and like
wouldn't?
ironically, like Lucas Zhao, like his previous nominations were for black and white films, and obviously Zone is not. So
Only thing I'm like, they got black and white and Oppie and Maestro, so maybe they have their black and white quota and they could just like throw Zone in. I don't know. I got nothing really to defend
I mean,
it.
like Maestro's only half black and white, like
Same
if
with
that.
Oppie, but uh, we'll see. That's a fun category. El Conde's fifth, sixth, seventh in the odds. Somehow Color Purple's still sixth in the odds.
Wild.
Okay, now into the top categories, Joyce. No offense to the below the lines. Best original screenplay. Perhaps an opening for some, since Barbie is no longer eligible here. Here's what I have. Anatomy of the Fall, which I think will win. The Holdovers, Past Lives, May December, and Saltburn.
You're gonna be so thrilled because I have the same 5.
Yes. Yes, Joyce. Oh, I love to see it.
I I put in Air after Barbie defected, but I'm just like, I don't think it's strong enough to
No,
even get in as a lone nominee. I mean, I would love to see it. And
we love
then
it.
yeah, and like my other options, I don't like, I thought about Boy and the Heron again, would be an amazing nominee, but I don't know if they'll do it. And um I also thought about like Fallen Leaves, which is not an option in here. Um, but I think that's a long shot. And yeah, so then I just did Saltburn. I mean, there's also Maestro, but I was like, I feel like that will miss.
It's fifth in the odds, hanging tight. I'm just like, man, that
I
is
feel
not.
like that would miss like Mank.
Yeah, that is, and it's not his. I mean, I don't know that the screenplay was never the thing people were talking about from the movie.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Josh Singer, who I love, and Brad. Origin is behind Saltburn, can make it in here late push. I have that being a lone nominee elsewhere. Uh, Iron Claw I thought of for this for a while, but I don't think it just really popped.
I Iron Claw is I feel like it's too late. But Origin is it's still here because it's adapted. They
It's
wanted
still
to
here in
carry,
our odds. I guess we didn't fix it
but um yeah, I mean, I don't think Origin would have made it
anyway.
in here anyway, but
And then I don't know. None of these other ones really seem right. It could be. You're right that it could be like an international. Like I was like, what about like Teachers Lounge?
yeah, I don't know. I feel like I can see myself changing this before Tuesday.
The
Because
reason I went with
I
Saltburn
basically
is
just put Saltburn is because like, you know, like she's a former winner,
yes,
Emerald
yeah.
Finale, and then I'm like, it is being watched, and I don't know.
I
Like
think
nothing makes
people
sense.
I think people actually like it. I know like people who don't like it are incredibly loud, but the people who there are like a lot of people
I
who
know a
like
lot
it.
of people who like it. It's
And
just
like
very divisive.
right. And I think that doesn't matter. I think people have it in here. I think it'll get in. Um for adapted screenplay, here are my picks. Oppenheimer, Poor Things, American Fiction, Barbie, and The Zone of Interest.
So you drop Killers.
I did.
I have the top five. I have Oppie, American Fiction, Poor Things, Barbie, and Killers.
I'm bullish on Zone of Interest because I think that it's just going to be a big movie for a lot of reasons. I just can't get past the idea that I think the Flower Moon script, like the Maestro script, is something that, while they've talked about it a lot, is not the thing that people love about the movie. And I just wonder if it's a lower tier, you know what I mean? Like if on a ballot, would you have that in the top three? I don't know. And so I think it
I
has the
mean, I
potential
think
to
if I
miss.
were, I mean, I have it in fifth. So if I were to drop something, it would be that to get in Zone because I had Zone in here before Barbie came in.
And I think Barbie will make it in. I think people will really be passionate about that script. And I think they're very passionate about Core Jefferson, and then Poor Things and Oppenheimer are just no brainers. And I can see Flower Moon being fifth or off a lot of ballots, and then it misses.
What
So that's why I
about
took it out.
All of Us Strangers?
I mean, I thought of that too instead of Zone, but I think Zone is a stronger movie, so I put it in. I actually think this could be very stupid, and we're going to go back and be like, well, of course, Flower Moon made it in. Eric Roth, beloved screenwriter, Marty, another nomination. Um, but I actually think I'd put Flower Moon behind Zone and All of Us Strangers and the other picks that I have. I think it's like should be lower in the odds. And I think this is going to be Core Jefferson's Oscar win, by the way, when we do our picks. I think he'll actually win, but we'll see.
To restart the TIFF winner
Yes.
streak that
Yeah.
was broken by Fablemans last year.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I might keep Killers. I don't know. We'll see. I might change both of my fifth screenplay slots.
Love to see it.
I don't know. Yeah, because it would I do want to have Zone in, so I would have to drop Killers.
Killers to me feels like one that a lot of people have just like reflexively put in. It kind of reminds me of Denis Villeneuve for Dune, where it's like obviously he's gonna get in, big movie, people love the movie, and like just check it off. And then like when it comes time for nominations, it's like, oh wait, he didn't get nominated because there's not a lot of passion for that part of the project.
Remember when they nominated Top Gun Maverick?
I do. They were right and they
Great
should say
nomination.
it. They absolutely were fucking right and they should say it loudly. Uh Anyway, yeah, I don't have it in. I could see, I mean, wouldn't it be great? Would it be funny if Barbie missed too? But I just can't imagine that. So,
I mean,
like,
I wouldn't be shocked if Barbie missed, but I think it'll get in.
Best supporting actor choice. Now we're into the acting categories. I probably have the same five as you because I just can't make a choice. So I have Downey, Gosling, De Niro, Ruffalo, Defoe.
You're just copying me again.
I'll have four or five.
This is what I've had since September.
Yeah, you were right. I had Melton in there. He's goner. Uh, I think Sterling K. Brown actually could make it in, but I'm not going to bet against either one of these guys. I think Defoe would have. I think Defoe's getting in. I actually think Ruffalo, I think he'll get in too. So
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to change this. I'm not confident about this quintet, but I feel like I need to see this through because I've had this for so long and I never put Charles Malton in. I
what would
never
you
made any changes to this after like Poor Things debuted at Venice.
what would you
So
put in if you if you were gonna do what would you put who would you put in there if you were gonna pick a surprise in there?
I could see Sterling making it in. I would do maybe the Sterling or Dominic Sessa. Like, I think he still has a shot if Holdovers really goes over well.
If they get it in there, either one of those guys get in there, I feel like that would make American Fiction even more of a formidable Best Picture option as well.
And
Or
the Poor Things guys, they're not your typical co-star duo, because usually there's like, when there's a pair, it's either like one of them is super strong and is the front runner or is probably going to win and just pulls the other person along, or they're consistently getting nominated everywhere and they're not. You know, like Willem missed the BAFTA long list and Mark missed SAG. And like the only major place they both got into was the Globes in a field of 6. So one of them could have actually been 6, or maybe it was Charles Malton. Who knows? But so that is concerning to me that they've been unable to both show up consistently in places, and neither of them is the front runner to win either. But I don't know if like I don't know which one to choose if I were to just pick one. So I would just keep them both in here and just hope to go 4 for 5.
The reason I went to both, I've had Mark in from Telluride. I just think it's the flashier performance, and while it was a shocking miss at SAG to me, I think he'll make it in. I think people really like Mark Ruffalo, and it could be one of those misses where it's like, oh shit, I got to make sure I put him in. You know what I mean? Missing actually makes it easier for him to get in at the Oscars because it raises awareness that he's vulnerable. And then Dafoe makes a lot of sense just because, like you said, he's gotten in for movies that are not strong Best Picture contenders or not
He's
even
finally back in
close.
the Best Picture nominee.
And he's in a Best Picture nominee. So like he's got to get in. I just do think that. So I'm keeping them both in. And I really don't think the other reason too is like you were just like, as we're sitting here, it's like Melton, Sessa, and Sterling K. Brown. There's not really a consensus, I don't think, among those three of who would be a better option. And so I don't know.
So who would you drop to get one of those in then?
I think I'd probably go back to De Niro, even though I'm more confident in De Niro now than I was at any point in the season. I feel like he's been like so locked
He
in.
hasn't missed anything.
He hasn't missed a single thing, and he's great in the movie, which helps. So I'm not going to drop him out. And I don't think he's going to be Irishman. I think his co-star will be. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably just keep this 5 and hope to get all 5 and 4 if it's not all 5. So, because yeah.
For Best Supporting Actress choice, this is what I'm comfortably calling the 2 out of 5 category. I'm just right expecting to get 2 out of 5.
Well, before you say anything, I feel like we need to savor this moment because this is the last time this category is exciting this season. It's going to be very boring after next Tuesday.
Divine Joy Randolph is so locked in to win.
We're never going to talk about this again. So
this is the Kiyu Kwan Memorial category.
At least he lost BAFTA last year, even though we knew he was still going to win the Oscar.
I mean, Divine could lose BAFTA too, frankly, based on their track record.
Well, that's in lead usually. So
okay,
they gave it to Viola Davis for Fences.
Also, caveat here, I might be changing this prediction in about 45 minutes if you're watching this or listening, because we'll see what BAFTA does, and maybe I change my mind again. Here's what I came up with. I have 2 that I'm very certain will make it in. That's why I'm calling it the 2 out of 5. I have Divine Joy Randolph and Emily Blunt. Those are my top 2. And then after that, I just went vibes and passion. So I've got Sandra Huller for The Zone of Interest, Penelope Cruz for Ferrari, and Rosamund Pike for Saltburn. That's it. I left out Danielle Brooks, who's second in the odds, as a shocking snub.
Well, I already spoiled that I don't have Danielle Brooks. So, I have Davine and Emily, so we match.
2 for 5.
And then I have Jodie Foster for Naiad, currently of True Detective, Night Country as well.
Emmy presenter Jodie Foster.
Yeah, Emmy presenter to Sarah Snook. Julianne Moore for May December.
Okay.
and Penelope Cruz
Okay.
for Ferrari.
So we matched 3 out of 5. I dropped Jodie and Julianne. And again, maybe wrong, but like we've talked about this, I think Divine is like going to be #1 on every ballot. 1,000, however, how many in the acting branch? 1,200? She's going to have.
Well, you need like 200 something votes to get nominated.
So she's going to have #1 on every ballot. And then Emily will probably be 2 or 3 on most. And then I was like, who's going to be #2 behind Divine on a lot? And I was like, Penelope Cruz has a performance that I think people would be like, and like you have her in there too. Just explodes out of the movie. Best part of the movie by far. And people love her. And like Willem Dafoe, she's got nominations for movies that don't go
they're
anywhere.
independently strong.
So she is, and she got the SAG nomination. Like I said, if you're watching that movie, she is definitely the best part. So I think you're putting her in. Sandra Huller, this is based on basically what I'm expecting. I expect her to get in at BAFTA, right? And then I'm like, she'll probably get in based on that strength.
But
and
she
I
could
think
just be a jury pick at BAFTA.
she could. And I just think the movie is so strong, and it does feel like she'll be a double nominee this year. And I put her in terms of passion. I felt like more passion for her than there would be for Julianne or Jodie. And then for Rosamund, same thing. I was like, that is a delicious supporting turn, hilarious comedy, big performance in a movie that I think will do better than people think. And I put her in. And then if BAFTA's like no Rosamund and no Sandra, maybe I'll change it. If Julianne gets in at BAFTA, I would probably put her in because
But she could also just be a jury pick there.
she could be. But I mean, I also think that'll help her. And I think I would put her in probably over Rosamund if I was going to drop anyone. But we'll see. Like I said, 2 out of 5.
So I kept Julianne because she's the only one who's been consistently of the May December actors consistently showing up. Like she was the only one who made the BAFTA long list.
Yes.
Obviously they all missed SAG, but she's performed the best out of all of them.
Definitely.
So I think she can do it, and May December will just get this and Screenplay. And then Jodie, I do think she could get in just because, like, no matter what you think of the movie Naiad, like she's so great in it, so fantastic, and this is like a comeback for her, right? She's got a movie, she's got a TV show, great in both, and she's basically a co-lead in it, and I think she can get in without Annette Bening.
Yes.
And
everything you said,
this
I
category
agree.
is open enough.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
And then Penelope, like everything you said, and like the SAG nomination was a surprise, and she is independently strong, like I said, like Willem. Like she gets in as a lone nominee for her movie. Like she won her Oscar as the only nominee for her movie, or she'll be like one of like 2 or like 4 nominees of her, like 9, like she was the only one who survived when 9 just collapsed. And yeah, like she's never been nominated for a Best Picture nominee, So I think that can still happen here with Ferrari, and I have Ferrari getting into sound, so it's like the same type of thing. Like she's already performed better than she did for Parallel Mothers. Like she hit nothing of like the major precursors for Parallel Mothers. And I think she's just beloved by her peers. So I think she can get in. And then I just dropped Danielle because, Color Purple has just capitulated. I don't think, even if you had the most like measured expectations of the film, like I didn't think it was gonna, make like 100 million or anything, but it could have been like a moderate success, right? I don't think anyone envisioned that it would just tank like it has.
We've had this. I want to hear what we've had people ask this in the YouTube comments, Joyce. So maybe don't read the comments, but I always do. And
I don't read the comments.
People asking, why does it matter that when like Zone of Interest is not a Ferrari? These are movies that made not a lot of money. So it's like, why does it matter that Color Purple was not a box office success? Whereas we're talking about movies like Saltburn and Ferrari and Zone of Interest and on down the line, where they're also in not flops, but they don't make a lot of money.
Because
so why
like
is it important for
Color Purple was a huge studio picture,
right?
Like Saltburn actually did well in theaters. Like it was limited release. Like you can't just look at the the box office total. It's about like PTA and the
Right.
budget too. Like against Color Purple's budget, 100 million, whatever is made now. I don't think it's even hit 60 million yet.
The
Like
budget,
that's
I would
bad.
say that's part of the problem is the
It's the
budget was
budget.
so
Like if the
big.
budget for Color Purple were like 25 million, this would be okay. Like this is fine, you
The
know?
other thing I would say is certain movies are like indie, like art house movies. There is a they don't need to make a lot of money,
Yeah,
and
and Zone of Interest is also doing well, like box office wise too, for its budget and release.
Color Purple is an audience movie and a
Yeah.
studio movie. So it would be like this. Like if Barbie, we could talk about this maybe when we do best. I mean, I have Barbie getting for Best Picture, spoiler alert, but if Barbie hadn't been what it was, if Barbie made like 800 million, do you think we'd be talking about it for as much of as much of a thing for Best Picture? I don't actually know. You know what I mean? Like it's like the over like Top Gun was another example last year where it's like a beloved movie, but maybe because of its overwhelming box office, that really does add a check to it in terms of its awards chances.
Yeah, well, and like in the Color Purple's case, I don't think it needed to make that much money by any means. I think it just
No.
needed to perform like okay, like serviceably, and it hasn't. Like it's not even about it like flopping, like ignore the total, like its holds are just bad,
And
you
then
know?
for
Like its chops
Danielle,
are
right,
just so severe.
right,
Like that's like you could still flop and have like good holds,
right,
but it hasn't had like everything that released over Christmas has held better. Like Boys in the Boat
right.
has been holding better. Obviously, we know what a hit Anyone But You has been. Iron Claw holding better. You know, like even Aquaman, like that's a flop, but it's like servicing its audience, and it feels like everyone who wanted to see Color Purple saw it on opening day.
Yeah.
And I mean it sucks. I feel bad for the cast and crew, but yeah, and like that's why it's already out on VOD.
And in terms of Danielle, I actually think she could like if Danielle Brooks gets nominated, I will not be like she's second in the odds. So like it would be a shock if she's not nominated. And it's certainly like one of those like, how did this happen snubs that people would be like absolutely losing their minds over online. It kind of just reminds me of like Jennifer Lopez for Hustlers, I guess, similarly, where it just is like it's not happening. She'd have to be like a lone nominee, or maybe maybe there's one other nomination in the
Yeah, and in
movie.
that case, like Hustlers did like okay for that type of film, right? Like, box office
And
wise.
like, yeah, I don't know. I just was like trying to think, like I said, I think the top two are going to be Divine and Emily. So then like, if you're ranking the rest, is I think Danielle's going to actually be like, unfortunately, like a 4 or 5, and maybe has the like is able to get like knocked out by some of these smaller performances that have more passion. That's basically why I dropped her. I'm not sure there's going to be a ton of passion for her,
Yeah,
despite the
like
fact that she's great.
yeah, like she or like the movie made SAG Ensemble, so that was good for it, but it missed PGA where but it should have got in like as a studio film, an American film, because
Right,
PGA doesn't usually nominate international films, and they nominate it too.
right.
So I mean that's a different category, but here like if I because I don't have Color Purple in anywhere else, if I were to keep her, she would be a lone nominee. And like recent lone nominees we've had in this category have been Kathy Bates for Richard Jewell, who bumped JLo, former winner, Helen Hunt for The Sessions, former winner, and Jackie Weaver for Animal Kingdom, who had a lot of critical support. Like she won LA,
Mhm.
and Danielle doesn't check any of those boxes,
It would be,
you
yeah,
know.
you're predicting against history, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like you need to be like a big name or have some sort of like Oscar history or have like a lot of critical backing or like a big movie to get in there. And like unfortunately, Color Purple has just not been performing. So I mean, like you said, like I wouldn't be shocked if she got in, but I'm there's just a lot of things against her right now. So I just dropped her.
Like I said, 2 out of 5. That's what I'm expecting here. And if I get more than that, I feel like I'm going to do really well on my picks because good for me.
What about your girl America Ferrara? See her, hashtag see her recipient on Sunday in the
Great
middle of
moment.
voting.
We talked about this a little on our Critics' Choice Awards one. Great moment for the visibility, but I just think if she was going to make it in, she would have gotten in at SAG. It was such an easy SAG
Yeah,
nomination.
that was like glaring.
And like just an obvious one, totally in line with usually what SAG would go for, like a beloved actress who's been in a lot, worked with a bunch of people in a huge ensemble movie that they loved. I just don't think she's gonna get in. I'd love to see it, but I more think that they'll get them. Like I was like this morning, I was like when I was thinking about these picks, I was like, you know what they're gonna do? America will be the person who talks about Barbie's Best Picture nomination and intros the clip. Like they're gonna get her on the show to do that.
Yeah, I don't. I think I probably would have predicted her had she made SAG.
Yeah.
Um,
I definitely would have, knowing me, you know that. Like I would have had
you
her in. I had her in. I think I put her in right when Lily left the category. So of course I would have done this.
yeah, there's Sandra. I thought about Sandra, the double noms, but she doesn't really feel like the type of double nominee they go for, and that performance is not, super in your face either.
It's not at all, but she's like such an evil monster, the character. I just thought of like Sarah Paulson for like 12 Years a Slave or like Ray Fiennes. I don't know. I was like, I think that she could have enough juice to get in.
But Sarah Paulson
I
wasn't
know.
nominated.
I know. But I'm just saying, like, it's in that kind of category to me. I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's like, I mean, Taraji's here. What is this, like eighth place? Ninth? I don't know. For Color Purple. I mean, if I don't have Danielle, I can't do Taraji.
And all this said, fast forward to like 30 minutes from now, when the BAFTA nominations are out tomorrow, I might change whatever I just said. So it might be like one of those like Joe Pesci and Mike Husbandy. Everything that guy just said was bullshit about me.
But this is, again, savor this moment.
This is it.
It's the last time it's exciting. So
For Best Actor choice, thought about this long and hard, and I ended up with the SAG 5. Cillian Murphy, Paul Giamatti, Bradley Cooper, Jeffrey Wright, and Coleman Domingo. I'm not putting Leo in. And I'm not going with Andrew
you got to
Scott.
keep him out because you've been on the Leo snub train since June.
I know. And I'm not doing Andrew Scott. I think it's between Coleman and Andrew Scott, and I'll let you go and then we'll talk about it. Go ahead.
I haven't made any changes. I don't know if like BAFTA would make me change anything because I could see both Coleman and Andrew getting in, and also Leo too if he's top 3. So I still have the consensus 5, but
So
yeah, I don't know.
I thought I'm not going Leo. Feels like De Niro and Irishman. Feels like just not a movie. He's not even focused. It's all about Lily, and he's like
all of his press and campaign is for Lily
and Marty, really. So I'm like, I don't think he's not been the focus. I think it's like even like Paul Schrader, like maybe taken out of context, but he was like, it's tough to hang with like this idiot for 3.5 hours. Not a character you're really rooting for, intentionally so. And it's not like Don't Look Up, because I think you are rooting for that character in Don't Look Up because he's like an avatar for your frustration of everybody's an idiot. And here he's the idiot. So I don't think it's like that much of a comp, even though I think Killers of the Flower Moon is a much stronger movie than Don't Look Up in terms of its Oscar chances as well. Coleman and Andrew, I was like, Andrew's got like the great performance in a movie that I think will obviously appeal to international voters more than Rustin. And Rustin is not beloved, but it still is on Netflix. And man, Coleman Domingo is people just love him. I can't get past that. I'm like, he's good
we know you locked this in after he presented at the Emmys.
He's good in the movie. He's better than the movie. Certainly. I think he's actually like good in the movie, and he's doing a physical transformation. He's playing a real life figure. I don't know. I just would be like, it's like all leading to him getting an Oscar nomination. Like he might be, I have him in for song, so it wouldn't be a lone nominee for Rustin. I don't think he's gonna miss. I'm gonna go with it. I don't want to do the SAG 5 because I'm like, what are the odds that they're actually right? But I actually think they're gonna be right. So there you go.
I don't know. I think like all 3 of them just have a lot of like, or several weaknesses against them. So I can see all 3 of them getting in, like Leo just coasting on the strength of his film. I think Andrew would definitely have the most passion of the 3 to get number 1s, to get
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And then Coleman has like the biggest campaign, your fave aspect of award season.
Yes.
But you know, his movie is, I would say, like the probably the least like seen and acclaimed of these three.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, I
I,
don't know.
the thing I was thinking with Rustin is like I think if like this time last year we have had Danielle Deadweiler in, right, for Till, maybe. I don't actually remember what we did or what I did.
I
But
think we both had her in because neither
the
of us had Andrea.
I think we were talking. I think we've talked. I think we talked about Harriet recently with Cynthia Erivo, right? And like that movie was like
I
a superhero movie, right? Like wasn't that like what
yes,
we talked
that's
about?
how I looked at it. Like when I watched Harriet, I was like, this it's like filmed like it was like exciting, you know?
And I actually think Rustin is not dissimilar. I my take on Rustin is that it is not a slog, and it is like we're putting on a show. It's like kind of like that kind of vibe and energy, and it's not like it's not like a like Till. I think there was a lot of conversation about how it was
Well,
like
Till is
a
sadder.
difficult watch. It's a difficult watch, and there's obviously like traumatic things that happen in Rustin too, and he gets assaulted by a police officer and all these different things. But it is actually, for lack of a better word, it is fun. I remember thinking like when I saw it at Telluride, I was like, it's a fun. There's fun moments in this movie. It is like we're putting on a show, and maybe it's too fun. I actually thought that at the time, where I was like, why shouldn't this be a little more, like a little less engaging, maybe? So I don't know. I don't think it's a slog, but like you said, like I don't know how many people have seen it. Coleman has said that too. Like in the Ava DuVernay interview he did with Vanity Fair, he's like, people have not seen the movie. But I'm almost like, I think he's so engaging, people just put him in. I really do. I don't know. I don't think he'll get the number ones like Andrew, though, like you're saying. Like, I think Andrew would be like way more number ones, maybe. But I'm going to stick with the SAG five.
Yeah, I mean I don't think Rustin was as fun as you found it. Like I thought it was, you know, like fine, like competent, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like but it's like I don't think it was like as fun as Harriet, and Harriet was also against its budget, box office hit.
Sure. No, I understand.
So obviously we don't really know Rustin's numbers or figures or anything,
No.
but uh yeah, I don't know. I might just keep this 5
Okay.
and like I know I'll get 4 right.
This is a 4 out of 5 for me, probably, but we'll see.
I don't know. I don't and then like I think, you know, last year a lot of people obviously love Paul Mescal's nomination, so they think it could happen again with Andrew, but I like the race is just different because last year the race was so empty, the category. It was like Paul or Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
you know?
Totally. I think if this was last year, Andrew Scott would have
Yeah,
absolutely
Andrew
gotten
would
it.
definitely get in if this
But
were
it's not
last year.
last year. It's this year, and it's tougher, I think, to get in. And I'm not, I think it'll do well at BAFTA. Cut to 20 minutes from now. But I don't know if it actually will do incredibly well. And I don't know. I just don't think he's making it in.
How about your guy Barry Keoghan for Saltburn?
No, I don't think so. Great performance, but no.
I mean, like,
Uh,
what if it's like someone else completely that we have not talked about, like Teo Yu?
so I think that could happen. Like, who do you think is vulnerable to miss besides Leo? Because I think even you have Leo in fifth. So I think you think he's vulnerable. But is one of those top four vulnerable to you at
I
all?
mean, you know what? I'm thinking about putting Jeffrey Wright in third and putting Bradley in fourth.
So I was wondering, is Bradley vulnerable? It's hard to imagine.
I think he'll get it. I think I don't think he's winning,
It's
but
hard to imagine, but let me just float this trial balloon that if a snub happens, at least you heard it here first that we discussed the possibility of it happening. I don't think it's impossible that he misses. I'm not predicting it,
no, but I'm
but
not gonna
no,
predict him to miss.
no, no.
But again, I am thinking about just putting him in fourth.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just do it now. I'll put Jeffrey in
All
third.
right.
Um, yeah, like I think there's still like the industry likes Maestro more than the general public. So I think it'll get, you know, a handful of nominations and will probably win makeup. But not really be that competitive elsewhere,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yep.
um but so you would you would drop Bradley to get into AOU.
If this category goes freaking bonkers and there's like two big surprises, I think Bradley would be one of the ones to miss. But I just think it's going to be the four of them, and then take your pick between Leo, Coleman, or Andrew Scott. And I'm going to go Coleman because I think he's been the most visible, and like it just feels like right. It feels like it's time.
So you think Netflix can get 2 slots here?
I do. I do. For Best Actress, Joyce, here's what I got: Lily Gladstone, Emma Stone, Sandra Huller, Carey Mulligan, and Anjanae Ellis Taylor for Origin.
Of course you do. I have the top 5, which
Okay.
is Lily, Emma, Sandra, Margot, and Carrie. Although considering dropping Margot for someone, but I don't know who. Like, I'm really seriously thinking about putting Annette Bening back in.
So I had Margot 5th. We've talked about this all year, and I've been one to say, if you love Barbie, you gotta love Margot, and I still think that's true. But I think if you're ranking your picks, you still would have her towards the bottom, and I think that makes her vulnerable. And we've seen like big stars in big movies, maybe if they're not number one getters, they could miss, right? Like it just feels like she's vulnerable to miss. Getting all you, I think you said this back in maybe the summer, like getting all the precursors and then still miss, right? Margot has the chance to do that very easily. Uh, and she'll still be a nominee for Best Picture, obviously, as a producer. So that left me thinking, okay, who can I put in? So Greta Lee is 6 in the odds. I think that's really possible, but I think she should have gotten in at SAG also if she was going to make it.
I mean, I don't know. Like that's not like as big of a snub as America Missing.
No, it's not as big, but I thought it would have made me feel more emboldened to predict her. Annette Fernayed very easily could get in. Like it would just be match SAG, right? Like or get her in like she did at SAG, basically with Sandra replacing Margot, I guess, in that case.
Yeah, like I'm not dropping Sandra. So
No. And then next in the odds is Fantasia, and then Anjanae Ellis Taylor. I just it feels like Andrea Riseborough 2.0 to me, and it has not been as publicly facing, but it clearly has been happening. That there's obviously a lot of awareness push for this movie, and she's a past nominee, so I think that actually helps. She was nominated for King Richard not that long ago. She's worked with everybody. It's a movie that makes you cry. She's great in the movie, and like I could see her making it in with just like we said last year, like you only need 200 votes basically, right? So
yeah, but
Angelina
I think
Jolie gonna get her
kind of
in.
I know, but like that the Angie Q&A is not as striking to me as like Amy Adams and Kate Winslet doing Zoom interviews with Andrea Riseborough. You know,
Sure.
like that was just like a public panel. It's like Ava DuVernay did one with Ben Affleck last month. You know, it's
Yes.
like these kind of Q&As, like a celebrity Q&A happens, like, you know, Jennifer Garner doing it for Maestro,
Right.
you know. So it's only just because it's like within this whole hurricane of Frances Fisher endorsing this movie
Mm-hmm.
again during voting that it's like, oh, it's like Angelina Jolie is doing this right now. But like I said, like the other night, the campaign for Origin feels less focused on Ingenue specifically because last year it was all about Andrea,
Yeah.
Best Actress, like, you know, fuck off to Leslie in all other categories. It was just Best Actress all the way.
Right.
Whereas with Origin, it feels like everyone is championing the film overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like they also won Best Picture and like, you know, director or like adapted screenplay for Ava and Best Actress for Ingenue. It was like vote for this isn't many categories, so it's not as streamlined. So I'm wondering if that could hurt it too. And but then I also understand why they want to be, you know, more encompassing because these are established people, former nominees, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like with Andrea, it was just like she's so underappreciated, total underdog. She's never been nominated for anything major. Like do it now. Um, and then like you said, like Ingenue was just nominated 2 years ago. So there is not that same urgency either. And I don't know, like if it happens like 2 years in a row, like that's insane. Um, I do want Frances Fisher to do this every year though. She needs to back someone every year because it's just camp. I love it so much. But I think the race is also different than last year's too, with the other spots, because last year the top two were Michelle Yeoh and Kate Blanchett. So you could say this year the top two are, Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone, the Stones. And I personally think Sandra is third.
Me too.
So then you have the other two spots. And I think it's more competitive for those two spots than it was last year. Like, the people who were snubbed last year, like Danielle Detweiler and Viola Davis, they were from weak movies. Whereas like I have like Carey Mulligan and Margot Robbie, 4 or 5 right now. Those are strong movies, right? Maestro strong, ish. But
Yeah. I mean, I
it's
think
just, and like Greta Lee, passion pick too. So I think it might be tougher. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Ingenue got in, but I don't think I will do her. And then Annette, I was thinking about, like, I had her for a while in the fall. And like I said, before, like she's like the only like older actress here, like the veteran actress, right? Otherwise, this category can be very young skewing
mhm,
too. Also if Ingenue doesn't get in. So
right,
Cassandra would be the oldest at 45.
right.
So and I do think, like, I think like film Twitter doesn't like Naiad, and I think that also kind of colors people's like perception of it. Like you're like anti-dicting it because, like, you just want to mock it. Whereas like I think, the industry, like her peers might like it just fine, might not be their favorite movie, but they like her performance, you know. And she's also been campaigning a lot the last 2 weeks, your fave.
I think Annette could get in for sure, and I think I would maybe put her in if I didn't put Ingenue in over Margot. I just think Margot is going to be tough to get in because I just don't think she's not a passion pick.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, because I've been in and out with her. So
And I'm
maybe
like,
just do Annette.
you could do Annette. I mean, I think if I moved off of Ingenue, Alice Taylor, I would do Annette, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to stick with that because why not? And I'll take the dart throw. And this is another one, like I said, 4 out of 5. I feel very confident in the other 4, even including Carey Mulligan, who I think will definitely get in, based on the passion for her performance and her as a performer. So
So if Ingenue gets in and this works again, what do you think the reaction will be?
positive, great moment for movies.
Nothing like last year.
We will not have op-eds about how it's bad.
No. No emergency academy meetings
No,
to
no,
instill new rules for campaigning and
mm-mm.
changes.
No. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Uh, for best director, this is where I think we're actually going to get op-eds. It's killing me to do this, but I'm doing it. Here I got Nolan, Scorsese, Yorgos Lanthimos, Jonathan Glazer, and Alexander Payne. David L., our great emailer, will be so proud that I finally dropped Greta Gerwig. But I dropped Greta Gerwig. I think she's going to miss.
I have Nolan, Marty, Yorgos, Glazer, and Justine Triet.
Okay. You would have less op-eds then in your scenario. There's slightly less op-eds. I'm sticking with Payne. I think Greta is the DGA miss.
Sticking, like, did you even have him? I had him. I should have stuck
Well,
with
I
him.
mean, I'm not sticking. I'm putting him in because I dropped Greta. Uh, he's obviously like a pass on. The people, they just love him. They love him. They love the movie. I think he's gonna get in, and the reverence for recreating that '70s vibe that didn't really work on me, I think will work on filmmakers. I've been thinking Greta will miss since Ruben Östlund, who's never made a movie as good as Barbie, was like, fuck Barbie. And I was like, that's going to be the consensus for a lot of these directors. And I'm sure that's what they're saying in their group texts with each other. And I think, you know, Sofia Coppola went kind of viral for her comments. Remember that? Like back when Priscilla, I think she did a Rolling Stone interview and they were like, what'd you think of Barbie? And she's like, Barbie is a movie. She did like the Alan Ruck eulogy. Uh, So, so I was like, I think but she had less tact maybe, or more tact than Ruben Östlund, who's like, fuck this, basically. So yeah, I think she's gonna miss, and I put Payne in instead of Trier, but you could go with either one, I guess. I didn't think they were gonna do both international people, and I just still think Glazer has more juice in that very male focused branch than Justine Trier would.
It pained me a lot to drop Alexander Payne, double pain, since I've had him since March.
Yeah.
So, but I think both Jonathan and Justine can get in. Like Jonathan is like your typical director's branch pick, right?
Yeah.
And then Justine, I think just the strength of anatomy and it's I feel like its popularity is not, or like I think people are not fully aware of like how popular it is or how well it's playing. You
We
know,
are.
I
I
think
am for sure. I mean,
yeah, I think like the PGA now was, you know, a shot in the arm for people realizing that. And I think she can do it. So it'll be, you know, double can people. Um, and I feel like I would just do that. Kind of similar to supporting actor. I'll just have both of them in because I think like at least one of them can get in,
yeah.
and I'll get 4 out of 5 hopefully here.
Hmm.
Um, and you know how I felt about Greta. So I did not have her in for a while, and then I mean I had her in for like a couple weeks in the summer before fall festivals, and I put her in for like 2 weeks in December, and then I dropped her again. I was like, I just don't think like that branch is so finicky, and Barbie is just the type of movie that they would snub, like kind of like Denis Villeneuve in Dune. You know, it's like that same type of vibe.
Yep. I thought the same thing. And Top Gun last year we saw as well with
I mean, we
Kaczynski.
never thought it was gonna
But
he was
like, I mean, like in an if he could have gotten in, he really could have. Obviously, I don't think it's that
he was
dissimilar
like
from
the
Denny,
obvious DGA
but he
snubby.
was the obviously DGA snub. I actually also thought Yorgos could miss. I
I
don't.
thought about that too.
And if I was
And
going to do that, I was going to put Justine in instead of Greta. Instead, not
yeah,
Greta
like that
again.
was my that would be how I get Alexander Payne back in.
The reason I think Yorgos could miss is similar to Villeneuve, is that it's a big movie that will get a lot of nominations, but he has not really been the focus of the thing. And also, Emma is really the author of the movie as the producer. It feels like that's been more of the focus, frankly, than, and maybe rightfully so because of like the discourse. But it's like she's been very forward as the producer, and she's talked about how obviously she's worked so well with Yorgos, and they're like so simpatico as filmmaker and star. But like, I don't know, I could see a world where he misses. I really could, but I don't know. I'm not predicting it, but I think that that could happen.
I mean, it's because of Poor Things that I had to amend my rankings here because after its Venice premiere, because I had, you know, the top two, Alexander Payne and Glazer and Trier, like throughout the summer, basically.
Right.
And then Poor Things hit, and I was like, oh, I have to get Yorgos in here. Um, I don't know, but I also feel like you also just see them as kind of a pair now. Like they're just like a director actor duo, you know, like that uh people will want to see more collaborations from. And it is like I like I don't think another director could have made Poor Things like he did, you know? So
Mm.
and he got in for The Favorite when he wasn't really expected to do so.
Yeah.
So I think he's okay. I don't know.
I'm not
Like
going to take him out.
that's my theory.
It's like Bradley. I'm like, I'm not predicting a snub, but if it happened, I would not be like totally shocked, let's say.
I don't know. Yeah, so I know. Yeah, like I don't like having Alexander Payne out. So I'm hoping he doesn't get in now
Awesome.
because I've had him in for so long. Um, what about Celine Song?
No, if Greta's not going to, I just think they're not going to, they don't want this. They don't want,
They
like,
don't want this.
if Greta's not going to get in for Barbie, they're not going to put Celine Song in. I just don't believe that. I think Justine will get in because she has the possibility to get in because one can, and there's like an imprimatur of like authority there, you know. But like, I don't, I think they're just going to go all men, and it's going to be like a discourse bomb when Barbie misses here and Greta misses, and people are going to be absolutely out of their minds mad.
Oh yeah, like especially over Greta. I don't even know if like there'll be if you know Justine gets in, it'll be like, oh yeah, like she got in, but everyone will still be mad about
And
Greta, especially like the locals,
and
you
I
know?
do think that that will help further Barbie in Best Picture. as Argo style. I think it could have a real big renaissance as a contender to win Best Picture over Oppenheimer. Because I think Nolan is going to win this pretty easily. It would actually, he's like the Jane Campion, just a total shock if it didn't win. And while I think Oppenheimer is going to win multiple awards and probably Best Picture, and I have it in first, if it lost Best Picture, I would not be shocked, I guess, based on how we've seen the last few years go.
I people like to make that argument a lot with Greta missing this category and then like how it'll help Barbie. I'm like, I don't think like that's the same thing, and I don't think that's exactly what happened with Argo either. Like, I think Argo was gonna win anyway.
I think Argo was very strong contender to win.
Whereas like I don't think Barbie is.
Well, I think Barbie's like top 5.
Yeah, but like not top 2.
Yeah, I don't really know what 2 is yet, I guess. You have
Yeah.
holdovers too, I guess. But I'm still I actually think American Fiction could be in second still, but we'll see. And then Best Picture, Joyce, this is really easy. I just have the 10 PGA. So I have Oppenheimer, Barbie,
Okay.
Holdovers, Poor Things, American Fiction, Flower Moon, Past Lives, Anatomy, Zone, and Maestro.
Yeah. No notes to PGA.
So if
So,
you were going to do a miss, what would you do?
well, I've had Maestro in 10th.
I have Maestro in 10th now, too.
Would you replace it with Origin?
At this point, yes. Color Purple is in 11th, and I don't believe it. Air, I don't think is going to take. Spider-Verse, I think, is not as good as the first one, and no. All the Strangers is next, no. May December, no. Napoleon, Naiad. So yeah, I probably go Origin or Saltburn, frankly. I think has a better shot. We laugh, but like it could easily make it in, I think. I think it'll be actually much stronger than people think.
I mean, it didn't even make the long list for BAFTA. It's home base.
But I don't know. I think I can get in. But I'm not predicting it. I'm just gonna stick with this 10.
No, I think these 10 are so far ahead. Like the fact that PJ went for both Zone and Anatomy, when they seldom nominate international films, just shows how strong these 10 are and just how distant 11 and below are,
Yes.
you know? So,
I mean, I will say this. I would have had this 10 without the PGA doing
oh
it.
yeah, I mean, I had this 10 before the PGA.
Right. So
Yeah.
there we go. Those are our Oscar picks, Joyce. You feeling good? Any changes you think you'll make? We'll see, I guess.
I mean, like I said, like both screenplays and lead acting categories.
See what BAFTA does, which you already know when you're watching this. I guess we can do some emails here before we take a break to do our BAFTA analysis.
Analysis.
You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. I'm going to read this David L. email because he sent it. And
How long is it?
it's not that long, so that's why I'm reading it. Hi, Chris and Joyce. It's David L. Hope you guys are doing well. I know the Emmy ceremony was a huge headache for all of us. All chalk winners at 3 shows in 8 days. Who knew? On the bright side, we all know what to predict for the SAG Awards on the TV side. My question is, why do you both think Alexander Payne will be snubbed for director for The Holdovers? I now do not think that, but I'm just going to read this to give him the edification that, right? I think Payne will get in because he's been nominated 3 times before, and it's the only category we can be recognized since he didn't write it right. I don't think they're going to double up with 2 foreign directors for both Justine Triet and Jonathan Glazer in the category. And I feel like it'll be DGA 5 minus Greta Gerwig, and Glazer will make the 5th spot since Zone of Interest is likely to get into more below the line categories than Anatomy of Fall. I know it's hard for people to realize, but we are probably going to have an all-male director lineup. Greta is shaping up to the Denis Villeneuve for Dune of this year.
I mean, we basically
just
just
said
said
that.
this. So
We said that. So
yeah.
good job, David.
And again, like I don't want to have Alexander Payne out because I've been on the holdovers boat since March. So but I rather just predict both can people and get one of them in.
Right. This one's from Cameron. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Do you think there's a possibility that Barbie could miss for Best Adapted Screenplay? Barbie has been tossed back and forth in the screenplay categories. First, it was adapted, then it was going to be campaigned and original, and now the Academy have definitely stated that it will be adapted. Do you think all this confusion could hurt the film's chances of being nominated? Also, the adapted screenplay category seems really packed. Currently, there are 6 big awards contenders: Poor Things, Killers of Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Zone of Interest, Barbie, and American Fiction, and 1 wild card in All the Strangers competing, and it seems inevitable that something big is going to miss. Also, Barbie is obviously going to get in for supporting actor and in many tech categories, and Gerwig is more likely for a Best Director nomination. Could the Academy feel like Barbie is being taken care of and snub it for screenplay? Thoughts?
I mean, it's your number 2 film of the year. So
I
what do you
well, I think he's right that there will be a big snub in that category. I picked Flower Moon. I mean, I actually think because of the co-writing with Noah helps that get in there with Noah Baumbach and Greta together. Um, I actually could see Origin getting in too, like we are just talking about, like for Ava then, right? And like maybe Barbie misses, but I actually think it won't miss there. And I think it's easier for it to get into screenplay based on the adapted nominees than it would be for director for Greta. So I'm going to leave it in there.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it missing for something like Origin 2, because I think that's like higher concept, which they like,
Mhm.
you know? And I mean, like Barbie's not really, it's original, but it's not really high concept, you know? And I don't know, like I don't think they think that way in terms of voting, like the movie would be like taken care of somewhere else, or Greta would be taken care of somewhere else, because they don't vote for nominations in the other categories. Like you just vote by branch. So it's not like they're all in like a Zoom call deciding like, oh, like delegating votes is like, this is where we're gonna take care of this movie and that movie. You know, like obviously Barbie's gonna make it Best Picture, but Greta's also not a producer
Right.
on it. Um, I guess people might assume she's a producer, but I don't know. I don't think they do. Like it's very like, I think it's clear like Margot is a producer on the movie, you know?
I don't think we have
Um,
to worry about confusion around Barbie. They've done a pretty good job of getting
yeah.
everybody to know everything about it.
Yeah, so I don't like I agree with you. Like I think I would snub Killers first before Barbie.
Yeah.
But then I think Barbie would be next.
Yeah. This one is from Ite, our old pal. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi guys, love your recaps. Last few weeks, they were much more interesting than the award shows. Why do you
Are
think?
they?
I don't know. Why do you think sweeps have become so common in award shows in recent years, especially when you take into account the amount of shows and movies being made each year? We could do one at a time. He's got 3 other questions. I think that answers the question, frankly. When there's too much going on, people just focus on like the same movies and shows.
I mean, we have like, and we've had more on like in TV than in film, I would say. I mean, we had a sweep last year with Everything Everywhere,
Right.
but that was just like, you know, a huge movie that everyone loved. Huge.
I
But
yeah. I would say for film, I'm like, I think this year is indicative of maybe that I do feel like there's like 5 or 6 movies that are going to get like most like could potentially like 8, 9, 10 nominations, right? Like it just is like there's such a consensus that people don't really go beyond what they're expecting in the consensus. So that's like not a sweep, but it's kind of the same thing where it just is like there's too much to watch. I'm just going to focus on these good ones that I
yeah,
know
I
are
mean, if you're talking nominations wise, there's multiple films that could hit double digit nominations, but in terms of wins, like we haven't had that a lot on in the Oscars.
right.
Um, except Everything Everywhere last year. But like a lot of like, you know, the Best Picture winners have been just collecting like 3 or 4
Yeah.
wins, you know, and then you would have like below the line sweeps like Mad Max and Dune,
Right.
which are like not really the same. So like with Oppie this year, if it does win, if it does sweep and wins like 8 awards or something, like this will be like the 90s, you know, like
Yep.
old
Yep.
school
Yep.
Oscars. So yeah, like I wouldn't, I like, you know, we see it more on like at the Emmys and stuff, like but since like the pandemic, really, like with Schitt's Creek, like we've had Schitt's Creek and The Crown just sweep above the line at the main ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And then now just, you know, 2 days ago, 3 shows dominating. And then I think it's also like the timing too is like, I mean, obviously Succession was gonna, it's like the biggest show was last year, so it was gonna do really well, except in supporting actress.
Right.
You know, and then Bear too. So it was like these 2 like hot shows, and then Limited was just weak. But I think it's different in TV because there are like 600 shows and people can't watch all the shows, and I think they also rely on buzz and word of mouth from their friends too on what to watch. And then if like everyone's just like, The Bear is amazing, you got to watch The Bear. That's how they watch The Bear. So it's like, I don't know how to get them to watch more things.
No. Other question from Ite. What is a left field nomination you'd like to see on January 23rd? Mine is Milo Machado Grainer for supporting actor, even though I highly doubt it will happen.
That won't happen.
You'd love to see it though. I know you would.
I would love to see it, but it's not going to happen because he's missed everywhere basically, and they don't like little boys.
And then
I would like to see The Killer in Sound, which you have.
I'd say Saltburn in Best Picture. And then last one, I'd love to think that Bradley is losing his Oscar because Leonard Bernstein was canceled after Lydia Tarr tarnished his legacy by attaching herself to it.
Would Maestro be doing better had Tar not existed?
A great unanswerable question. I would say no. I don't think so. It's not a movie designed nor executed for general audiences.
No.
So I don't think if Tar, I don't think Tar was either. I think people watched Tar and they fell asleep.
No,
so.
but it was no one, like, I mean, there were some people who thought Tar was a real person, but Tar was not designed to be, or people never mistaken it as a biopic.
No.
Whereas people do go into Maestro thinking it's a traditional biopic.
Yes.
So
Remember
last year when we said, like, if Cate Blanchett wins, she could present the Oscar to Bradley Cooper.
Those were the days.
Mm-hmm.
This one's from Tony. Hi, Chris and Joyce. PGA nominations were out, and they sent me into a bit of a tailspin because the 10 nominees are, apart from being the current top 10 in the odds, my current Oscar 10. The problem came when I consulted the sacred texts, Wikipedia, and noticed that in the 35-year history of the PGA, the last time they mirrored the Oscar Best Picture nominations was 1994. They get close, but there's always at least one difference. So now I'm trying to figure out what would that difference be this year. At this point, with Zone of Interest coming on so strong and Past Lives not losing much steam, I'm thinking that could be Maestro getting snubbed. But what replaces it? Color Purple, All of Us Strangers, or is this the first time in 3 decades the PGA matches the Oscars 10? We think it is, but
yeah. I mean, like 94, that was also when it was 5. So
yes. If it was 5, let's do this. It was 5 for PGA. What would they have been this year?
5 for PGA?
Yeah.
Oppie, Barbie, Holdovers, Killers, and Poor Things. That's 5, right?
Yeah. And what would be the 5 of the Oscars? Would it match 5 for 5?
Yeah, I think it could.
If it was 5-5.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like it hasn't happened, but first time for everything.
I always think of that. I'm always with these stats and stuff. I'm always like, first time. This just hasn't happened because it hasn't happened. There's a first time for everything, and this is going to be the first time.
Yeah, like if like Spidey had gotten in, like we would all be like, well, that's out.
Yeah,
at the Oscars,
obviously.
Like no one. The surprise was in PGA nominating Anatomy and Zone of Interest because no one expected that. Like maybe some of us expected Anatomy because that's more broad appealing, but I don't think maybe like one person. Like I don't think most people were expecting Zone.
No.
To get him a PGA.
Pretty crazy.
I think most people had like Color Purple or something, So yeah, like I but again, like the alternatives just seem so weak that it's even if you think Maestro is weak or something else is weak, that I don't know like what to pick to replace it with. So I'd rather just keep this 10. And if Maestro or something else misses, I've also seen people suggest that Past Lives is 10 because it's gonna be another woman talking with one other nomination in screenplay. So but I think that has more passion than Maestro.
I agree. I do think it does. And then last one here before we get to our BAFTA analysis. Can't wait. Love to know what we're going to be wearing and what we're going to say. Who could even imagine?
We should plan our outfits right now.
No, I want to be totally surprised.
You're not like David Beckham. You plan his outfits for the whole week.
No, I open my closet and whatever the first shirt in the row is, I take that shirt and that's it. This one's from Carlos. who's emailed us before at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Chris and Joyce. Which actor or actress do you think could be nominated this year without getting any precursors? Before SAG, I thought Penelope Cruz could pull it off, or maybe Dominic Sessa, but I think he'll get a BAFTA nomination. America Ferrera or Matt Damon if they go crazy with Barbie and Oppenheimer? Question mark. So I have Anjanelle Ellis Taylor as mine, seemingly.
Yeah, I mean, like I think she'd count. So I think that's
What about
a
Matt Damon?
possibility.
I read this one mostly because Matt. Wouldn't it be great if he
Like
got
like double Oppie.
the shock of the year? Matt Damon, who was probably the second best part of Oppenheimer, third best part of Oppenheimer, getting in.
I mean, he did get into ATGA, the Australian Oscars-ish, whatever, which is only like 12 years old. I mean, well, America got in at Critics' Choice, right? Yeah. So she hit something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have said Penelope before SAG. And I guess if Dominic does not make BAFTA, Dominic, but I haven't in that BAFTA.
All right.
I don't know. Like,
Well, we'll find out soon enough, Joyce, because we're gonna have BAFTA picks here in a
yeah,
month.
like I guess like Ingenue is the most obvious.
Yes.
Held by Frances Fisher. So who will she
Uh,
endorse next year?
I don't know. We have to look at the list of movies. I'm so excited for our March episode when we do our predict the
We should just
2025
have like a separate Frances Fisher category.
Oscars.
She should be her own critics group. So
All right, Joyce. So stick around here. We're gonna do BAFTA analysis next, and we'll see what Oscar picks I've changed in the next 12 hours, 24 hours. Joyce, we're back. I mean, we haven't taken a break, but we're all in new outfits.
well, we took a 24-hour break.
That's right. As promised, we're talking about the BAFTA nominations, Joyce. Hilarious would be
Did
my
you watch
takeaway.
the live stream at 7 a.m. this
I
morning?
didn't. Did you?
Of course I did.
How was it?
From bed. Great.
Who did
Just
it?
love to log in to YouTube, or not log in, but just click on the link to watch the live stream. And they do this like great montage in the beginning. They do this every year.
Sure.
You know, of the films of the year, long intro, and then they only do the above the line categories,
Right.
which is fun. But yeah, so then you have to click, wait for the link and click to see all the rest. But yeah, a lot of big snubs, fun surprises, but also the jury. So pure chaos.
We talked about this the other day. Just to recap, all the acting categories and the directing categories are juried. Directing category.
Directing categories, how many are there?
No, I said category. I misspoke. And so the actors, I think we said it was the top 3 get in, and then the rest is jury, right?
Acting is top 3, and then 3 jury slots. Director is top 2, and then 4 jury slots.
And so when we were doing our picks the other night at the wee hours of the morning, we're like, obviously Marty is top 2 in director. And he wasn't a jury save. So they just snubbed Scorsese in director.
The Killers of the Flower Moon's performance is truly hysterical.
So overall, just the top line here, Oppenheimer had 13 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, just all down the line, all the expected places. And then
Yeah, it hit basically everything except casting, which is also like juried or like by a committee. So, but
did it have, how many? Did it have 15 long list mentions and then 13 nominations? Is that right?
Yeah.
So pretty great. Seems like pretty much a consensus front runner if we ever had one. Poor Things was next with 11 nominations, Joyce, but not for Yorgos, which you accurately predicted.
Yeah, you had him, right?
I had him in. You didn't.
Yeah, because I didn't think he was going to be top 2 or a jury save.
I figured he'd be a jury save, but if they're not going to save Marty, they're certainly not going to save Yorgos, as it turns out.
There were just too many options for the jury spots, I felt like. And then it also missed supporting actor for Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
Because Willem Dafoe was not long listed.
Correct.
But it performed well overall. So you could also read this as, even though it missed these 2 big categories, if the entire you know, process was just popular vote, they probably would have gotten in. You
I
know,
think
like Yorgos was like probably I think both of them would have gotten in. Like we know Mark was at least top 7 probably. Like I can't imagine him being a jury pick for the long list. He
no,
just wasn't top 3.
right.
So like they could have gotten 13 nominations if it was just popular vote down to ballot.
And then next, I lost my page. Next was with 9 nominations, like we said, Flower Moon, and Zone of Interest. Flower Moon, though, missing Marty, and maybe more shockingly, Lily Gladstone, Joyce. Not a jury pick, not top 2, top 3.
Yeah, Marty missed and Lily missed, and it also missed Screenplay, which is popular vote. That's not juried. But
Well,
it hit basically everywhere below the line.
it,
So what this tells me is that the movie is probably like a top 4 or 5 in all these categories. Like it was probably like 4 or 5 in Best Picture, which is popular vote.
mhm,
And so now we know Marty was not top 2 and Lily was not top 3. And then the juries, it's different juries in each category, so they didn't pick them.
right. Uh, feel a lot better from my prediction yesterday that Flower Moon will not make Screenplay. Feel more emboldened by that now. So I'm happy
Yeah,
to
like
see
the
it.
fact that both Zone and All of Us Strangers got in.
So pretty great. I was wondering, definitely American Fiction, not a fan of this, and I'm not surprised BAFTA didn't go for that. Jeffrey Wright missed,
It got
so
screenplay.
right. Uh, but yeah, we'll see. All the Strangers was in there. You're right. With 6 nominations, and then Holdovers Maestro had 7.
Maestro, Bradley Cooper, director.
So we could just go down the like, let's see. So yeah, best film we said top 5 easy.
That
Anatomy,
yeah.
Holdovers, Kills of Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
Well, Holdovers, I would say, was the big surprise here and had a great day. It got everything it needed to. Um,
Giamatti makes it in.
and um they because like they don't usually like Alexander Payne movies. So this
Mhm.
is the first time an Alexander Payne movie has overperformed.
Yes.
So, and I think now that I think about it, I think it's because it's set at a boarding school. The Brits love a boarding school. It's an
Interesting.
American movie, but it's a boarding school.
Interesting. No Barbie here.
We talked about this and how it could be like Top Gun Maverick.
Yep. Uh, outstanding British film. The nominees were All the Strangers, How to Have Sex, Napoleon, The Old Oak, Poor Things Here, Rye Lane, Saltburn, and Scrapper. And then Wonka and Zone of Interest.
Sure.
Uh, let's just go down to the ones we were predicting. Director Andrew Haigh makes it in. Justine Triet, Alexander Payne, Bradley Cooper, Nolan, and Jonathan Glazer.
Yeah.
Celine Song was probably a miss here. I think we both had her in.
hmm
Uh, and obviously Marty. I think those are the two differences I had.
Yeah, I think Marty is still fine for the Oscars. This is kind of like when BAFTA snubbed Spielberg.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but you don't have Justine at the Oscars. I have Justine
Well,
and Glazer. Did you add her?
I did, and I dropped Yorgos.
I know. I want to drop Yorgos because I've had Alexander Payne since March.
Well, we
I
talked about
dropped.
this yesterday, but earlier in the video, and we discussed how maybe Yorgos is going to be left out as well, as like a 4-5, and maybe like also a Denis Villeneuve type snub, where you're like, how does this movie get 11 nominations and the director doesn't make it in? But I actually think we're going to see that happen. So I put Glazer and Trier in because I just think, like, do you think? I think Glazer was top 2 based on. I think it was Nolan and Glazer.
I think it was top 2. I was probably like Nolan and Alexander Payne.
You think Payne was 2? Okay. Either way, Payne is definitely getting in. Glazer's definitely getting in. And I'm like, I think Trier will get in over Yorgos. I
I
just
feel
think
very
that'll happen.
vindicated because I had Justine Alexander for so long.
Yes.
And
you should feel
I
very
think I'm
good.
just gonna go back to what I had in August when we did our August picks, which is
Yes,
just Nolan, Marty, Payne,
Payne,
Trier, and Glazer.
5 for 5.
Because then Poor Things premiered at Venice, and then I had to get Yorgos in there.
I really think that this is going to happen. I don't. I think it just feels the vibes feel very strongly towards this, and
Okay,
it
I'm
would
gonna
be
drop Yorgos. I'm going back to August.
fitting to me that both Greta and Yorgos miss because Barbie and Poor Things are such like so similar. I think, and it's like I think maybe that actually hurts both of them because how do you pick which
So
Barbie
nobody listened
movie?
to what I just said like 45 minutes ago in Best Director.
Uh, for original screenplay, the nominees were Anatomy of Fall, Barbie Here, Holdovers, Maestro, and Past Lives, and then adapted was All the Strangers, American Fiction, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. So we did this yesterday slash 25 minutes ago. Uh, I had dropped Flower Moon. I still feel pretty confident about that. I have Saltburn in original, which was not nominated here, but I wonder. Like, I guess what I'm asking is, I think Barbie is now still in for screenplay and adapted.
Or are you talking, which one are you talking about? Adapted or
Well,
original?
both because I
Those
was
are
like,
two
I think
different categories.
All of Us Strangers would be like a strong play here too. But I'm gonna leave Zone of Interest in and keep Barbie in and leave all of Us Strangers out. And then for original screenplay, I guess I'll still stick with Saltburn because nothing can replace it. But
Well, you could just put in Maestro.
Maestro, but I still don't buy that. So
I don't know. I
I'll
mean,
be
like that
wrong.
spot is so open and they didn't go for May, December here
Right.
either. So
But they didn't like me December anyway. It seemed like.
it's like what if May, December I don't think May, December will miss the Oscar nomination because we're having so much trouble filling out five. But if it does, then like both Maestro
And
and
Saltburn can get
Saltburn
in.
or maybe something else can get in.
And do you
So I
think?
don't know if like I don't know what to do with that fifth slot in original.
And what about adapted? Do you still feel like? What do you think there now?
Um, and like because I had Zone until Barbie came in.
Same.
So
Like we said, it was a very easy 5 in terms of
yeah.
predicting. But
And
I'm
then
gonna
it
drop.
like felt easy when Barbie came over too.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop Flower Moon up still, and I'm gonna keep Barbie in. But I do wonder if there's a world where All of Us Strangers makes it in 2, and then I'm wondering what would drop. I don't think Oppie and American Fiction will, and I don't know about Poor Things, but I could also see that shedding off.
I don't think Poor Things will miss just because it is so writerly
Yes.
and I think it's in a way like more exciting than Flower Moon,
Yeah.
you know, for a viewer at least. Um, I don't know. Yeah, like I mean we talked about it yesterday, like how Flower Moon is kind of weak here.
I feel very very vindicated by having it out now. That was a good one. For lead actress, Joyce, the nominees were Fantasia for Color Purple, Sandra Huller, Carey Mulligan, Vivian Oparah for Rylane, Margot Robbie, and Emma Stone.
Um, who do you think was top three?
So this is going with what I made another change here, Joyce. I think top 3 were Sandra, Emma, and Margot. And that's
Mhm.
why I'm putting Margot back in instead of Anjanae Ellis Taylor. And I'm switching out for them from the SAG, Sandra Huller, who I think we both said earlier is like in 3rd place. I feel like
You could totally win this.
and she could win here, but I actually think Emma's gonna win. And I think Emma could win at the Oscars, and it just feeling like Anthony Hopkins versus Chadwick Boseman all over again. It really does.
Except Anthony Hopkins won BAFTA.
And I think Emma's gonna win BAFTA. I really do.
Yeah, but like that's like that comp doesn't work because Chadwick Boseman was winning everything until BAFTA, which
Sure.
is like, you know.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I think like for the win it's between Emma and Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean like we know BAFTA loves Margot and because she got in for Mary, Queen of Scots, and she got the double noms for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Bombshell, which is why they had to revamp their whole system and introduce the jury. Um, so I can totally see her being top three, even though Barbie didn't perform that well overall. You
Yeah,
know, I can also see Carrie being top three, but I think she also kind of makes sense as a jury pick.
she does. And
So,
everything I said yesterday about Angelina Taylor and Origin, I still agree with, but I'm dropping her for again now for
how
Margot.
can you do this to Frances Fisher?
I don't think what you said was inaccurate, and I think Origin's gonna pop somewhere, but I don't know if it'll be here. And I think this I just assumed, like, I did not think Margot would get nominated here. I just thought like she wouldn't be top three, and there's no way they would do a jury save on her. And that the fact that she's in over Lily Gladstone, seemingly that means to me she's top three. And the jury saves were Fantasia,
Vivian.
Harry, and Vivian.
Yeah, like I think Vivian and Fantasia were for sure jury saves. And I don't really see like a jury saving Margot, but you know,
Margot over Lily. I mean, that's like nuts,
I
basically.
mean, like, so like I think everyone assumed Lily was top three, or
Yes.
and if not top three, would have been saved, and she
Yeah,
was neither.
correct.
So she could have been fourth, you know,
Yes.
but that means you still miss. You're not automatically in. So then the jury just didn't pick her, so you're just at their mercy. So like this group of people preferred these other three
Right.
performances,
Right.
Lily's.
I'm totally, in hindsight, I'm not going to say I'm not surprised about Lily Gladstone. I think that's like shocking, but I'm not surprised Killers Flower Moon underperformed. I'm certainly not surprised Leo missed. It's just in that I'm like, I don't know if that story necessarily, even though it's a universal story of like, oppressing indigenous people,
Yeah, it's a very
uh,
American
it
story.
is a very American story. And I could see that. And they seemingly, I don't know if they were anticipating this, but I will say like the Flower Moon team spent a lot of time over in London. I feel like they did a really good job getting the word out because I think they probably knew that they needed to make sure that they're getting to like British voters in a way. You know what I mean? Like they've been over there a bunch, I feel like.
Yeah, but I also think we all assumed Lily would get in either way because of the jury being introduced to diversify their nominations,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think that's also why it's like, upsetting and triggering to people. It's like you're not doing your job, but it's also like I if they don't like the performance, then they don't like it, and then they also, they obviously picked Fantasia and Vivian.
Right.
So, and I don't know, like it's like the system sucks because this is not the way to solve their issues. Like you're just tokenizing people and no one wants to be selected just to fill a quota. And this is forcing all of us to look at it this way, like when we make predictions and stuff. So it
Right.
sucks for everyone. Um,
There's a great deal of cynicism, it feels, to a lot of these.
yeah. So it sucks because this is not like the right way. Like they like BAFTA obviously has their issues, but it feels like such a shortcut to try to fix it because like the awards are again like a symptom of the problem. But it's public, so that's why we pay attention to them more and not like the behind the scenes stuff of
Mm-hmm.
like the industry and everything that happens behind the scenes. So yeah, it is like yeah, her snub is surprising. I think she'll get in at the Oscars, of
Yes,
course.
yes,
You
obviously.
know,
And I think she's still going to win SAG.
she can totally win SAG. I do hope we have like different winners like everywhere, so to make it more exciting. So obviously Emma can still sweep. Like Emma can totally win SAG too.
I mean, if Emma wins SAG, I would say that's like it. But I'm expecting Lily to win SAG and Emma to win BAFTA, and then we go into Oscar night trying to figure out which one is going to be more resonant with the
I mean, it'll
Academy.
be great if Sandra wins BAFTA
Yeah.
and then Lily wins SAG. Actually, what would be even more chaotic is if Margot wins SAG. So I don't know. And I've also seen since noms, like people say like, oh, this will help Lily because she was snubbed. I'm like, I don't think people pay attention to this. It's like it's the
I,
same thing as like the Ben Affleck
I,
snub
I don't,
situation.
yeah.
Like,
I also don't think she needs to be helped. I mean, she's still like a favorite in many people's eyes. Like most people are expecting her, I think, to, you know, be obviously be it's like, I wouldn't even think of her not being nominated. And I still think she's got the edge to win right now. But I mean, if she loses other things, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this really matters. It just means, like, I don't know. frankly, I don't think she would have won this anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
This
Even if
would
she
have been
was,
hard for her to win. But
like,
she definitely could have won, like,
well, if you're
yeah.
nominated, you could win. But I was like, I would not, like, let's just say I would have probably predicted Emma here anyway.
Yeah, like Emma's performance is, and even like Sandra's is more of what they would go
Correct.
for. But if Lily had the momentum going in, and like it's everyone voting, for the
Maybe.
winner, so she could have, like, Lily could have won.
Correct.
Um, but I don't think like this is like, I don't think like, like SAG voters are like, oh my gosh, she's snub, I gotta vote for her now. Like, there's like almost 200,000 of SAG-AFTRA members. Like, no, they're not paying attention to this. And
Yeah.
also, you could look at it the other way too. It's like if someone sees her being snubbed this like today, and they weren't a huge fan of her performance anyway, maybe they feel like, oh, like they have permission, sort of like not to vote for her.
Mhm.
You know?
I don't, I mean, well, there's no way to know this, and like this will be talked about forever or whatever happens. Maybe I still, like I said, I still think she very competitive to win at the Oscars, no matter what happens. But I do think a lot of people feel like she would have. I mean, like, is a supporting performance. I think the performance is like unimpeachably great. Still is great performance. I think it's definitely the best part of the movie, like by far. And she's really remarkable in it. But there's still going to be that conversation about compared to like these are
Yeah,
lead
Sandra and
performances.
Emma.
Sandra, Emma, Carrie, Margot, like these are like they're significantly carrying the movie. And obviously, criticism of Flower Moon is that as great as it is, it's still not focused on Molly. It's still focused on Ernest. And so that I don't know, like I don't think people are going to penalize her, but maybe they're just like I like this other performance better because there's just more of it.
Yeah. Like and like what I always say about like opening and ending your films, like making it memorable. Like like Lily is more of a focus in the first half
Correct.
of
She's
Flower
not.
Moon.
Yeah, she's in the
Yeah.
middle and the end. Very. Her last scene is great, but she doesn't have the last scene, which is the most
No,
memorable.
and then it's like once like even like things we've talked about this, like, once like Leo was arrested and everything, like they could have flipped back to her, but they don't,
Correct.
you know.
And this is also why I don't have it in for screenplay because I think these are issues that came with rejiggering the narrative a little.
So yeah, like I put Annette in, yes, in place of Margot, but now I'm like, whatever, just put Margot back. I don't know.
I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to, sorry, Anjanelle Ellis Taylor in Origin. But I think Margot showing up here just speaks to me like that there's a lot of intense passion for her. And I should have just kept her the whole time like I had her the whole time. So whatever I
Like,
said previously was bullshit. If you were like you're made it to this point, don't listen to that.
I mean, today's nominations didn't really change the way I felt about certain categories. Like, it was still uncertain about, I'm still uncertain about,
Right.
you know?
For lead
So
actor,
like
yeah.
actress, actor, director.
Yeah.
Director, we could have another like 2 for 5 thing with DJ,
I think we
you
could.
know?
I think it'll be 3 for 5. I feel more confident in Payne than I have at any point in the whole year. Obviously, you would say you've been confident in him since August, but for me, it's taken this long to get there. But
I've
I'm
been
very
covering him
confident.
since March, and I should
Yeah,
have never dropped him in the
no,
last 2 weeks.
we're gonna do that when we do our picks for 2025 Oscars, and I think you're gonna do really well. I haven't even looked at the sheet, but I'm like, you're gonna have done really well. I think. Uh,
When we compare what we picked
yeah,
last year.
I'm excited for you. For best
Well, all I
actor.
remember was you telling me that Holdovers wouldn't do well because Alexander Payne did not write it.
Well, I still think that's gonna hurt its screenplay, not win. I think it would have won screenplay if he wrote
But
it.
the name is not on it.
Doesn't matter. It would have won screenplay if he wrote it. I think that's going to hold it back from winning because it would have been a great way to not to get him an Oscar. You know what I mean? Like I think there's a like people want to
He has
reward him.
Oscars anyway. It
I
doesn't,
know, but
it's not like he's
for this
overdue for an Oscar.
film, I think they would want to give it to him if he wrote it. For best actor at BAFTA, the nominees were Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Barry Keoghan, Cillian Murphy, and Teo Yu.
Your fave, Barry. And
You
you
love
didn't
to
predict
see
him.
it. I didn't. So top three
Saltburn
here. Saltburn did
everywhere.
well. And well, that I feel we'll get to supporting actress, but I'm more confident ever in my picks for supporting actress now, including Rosamund. Um, so who is top three here? Would you say?
Top here, I think this is easier to tell than actress. Killian, Paul, and Bradley.
Yes, and then the others are jury saves. I'm still on Coleman.
Yeah.
I think he's going to make it in over Leo, and Scott not being here makes that decision even easier for me.
This is Andrew's snub is more shocking to me than Lily's.
Andrew should have been top 2, I think.
Yeah, remember what I said? I was like, he feels like someone who would be top 3 and a jury save, and he was neither. Did I jinx him?
Well, nobody saw that until now, right now. But yes, I think maybe you did. That to me speaks. So like I said, I've been out on, like you were out on, like you were in on all these people in March. I've been out on Leo since June, basically. And I think this is even more emboldened there. And now I feel even more confident that the SAG-5 will just carry over with Coleman in for Best Actor. I think the visibility, like obviously, I think he was probably a jury save based on like the top
He
three,
was a
which is
jury save.
the consensus top 3. But I'm like, just the visibility, people just love him, and I think that that is going to carry this to a nomination. So I'm going to keep him in.
Yeah, I think this just hurts Andrew the most. Like I would put
Yes,
him below Leo and Coleman
yes,
now if you're
yes,
still debating
yes.
between them. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could just go to Coleman. I don't think I have any category matching SAG 5 for 5.
Right. Do you know the
So
stats on that? You're always much better at this because you read. Uh,
yeah, you don't know how to read.
no,
The other day you were going to read a book this year, but then you decided not to.
I
You're
read
going
the
to a
synopsis
TV
and I was
show.
like, sorry, Taffy Ackner. I got it. I'll watch the show.
Um, yeah, I mean, it could also because like Leo has the film and it like and Best Actor more than any category, acting category is like so linked to the stronger film and the Best Picture contender, and we know Rustin is not that. Um, but yeah, Leo's performance doesn't have the passion. I don't even think Coleman's performance has that much passion, but I think it's easier to like his performance than Leo's.
And again, not to just totally discount what the performances are on either end, but Coleman has the passion even more than anything, right? If you're ranking, like he personally, I think has the passion more than his performance, more than Leo's performance.
Um, so there's a bunch of, let me see if I have the list here. Like there's a handful of actors obviously who hit all the precursors.
Mm-hmm.
Like Coleman also feels like one of those people who could just miss after hitting all the precursors.
Certainly. And if
Yeah.
Leo shows up, it would be like, no kidding.
Yeah. So I don't know about ugh. See, like this didn't change anything for me because it's like I'm still torn in between that last spot.
I guess for me, it only changed that I was still torn on like, would it be Coleman or Andrew who gets like that support? And
Yeah, like I said,
that
I think I'm just
knocked
eliminating
Andrew out.
Andrew.
Yeah.
So it's still between the two of them
Yeah.
for me.
For supporting actress, the nominees were Emily at BAFTA. The nominees were Emily Blunt, Danielle Brooks, Claire Foy, Sandra Huller, Rosamund Pike, and Devon Joy Randolph. And I'm feeling pretty good about my 5 now, which were Divine, Emily, Sandra, Rosamund, and Penelope Cruz at the Oscars.
I I swapped in Claire yesterday for Sandra, so it was a wash
Oh,
here
nice.
for me because I still had Kara Jade Myers.
Right.
Um, yeah, so this I think the top 3 is also easy. It was Davine, Emily, and Rosamund.
Yes.
So I I'm debating for Oscars like dropping Julianne Moore because I have her still.
And who would you put in?
I don't know, like I could just go back to Danielle as a lone nominee, which is scary.
We talked about this. You had some, if you're watching this, if you skipped ahead to BAFTA, you should rewind because Joyce had some great data points about how rare it is for a lone nominee without a huge pedigree of like previous success in Best Supporting Actress to make it in.
Yeah. So that's like concerning. Like she obviously has a very flashy performance, right? And like MVP notices for the film, but the film is weak too. And she's very likely just gonna be a lone nominee. Like I don't think Fantasia's getting in to Best Actress, and I don't have Color Purple getting in anywhere below the line. Although I guess I wouldn't be shocked if it got in, like, you know, costume design or something, but the guilds have just been blanking it except for SAG. but that like actors is just what Danielle needs to get in.
Mhm.
So, and then I could do double Sandra, which it's like again, I don't know if like her zone performance is like super actor friendly, you know? Like I'm confident she'll get in lead for Anatomy.
Sure.
And then it'll also be crazy because she would be getting 2 Oscar nominations for SAG snubbed performances because she
Mhm.
didn't get into SAG for either performance. Not that we expected that, but
No.
so
I'm
I don't know.
sticking. Yeah, I'm sticking. So I still feel really confident in Penelope Cruz. Like we said, we talked about this yesterday. So like she's like uh, a planet unto herself, basically, and she could just carry her own performances in very easily. And I'm really confident in Rosman now. More, I just think that it is such a likable, like deliciously bad, like evil, like not even evil, just like such a not likable. I don't know. It's an enjoyable performance because she's such an asshole. And I think, yeah, Sandra gets in because Zone of Interest is super strong. I could see Danielle getting in, but I would probably have her sixth at this point. And then I have Jodie and Julianne out.
Yeah, like I can like with Julianne, I I can't eliminate her completely because I think there it's like because it's so open
Mm-hmm.
after Davine and Emily, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, this
That
is, we said yesterday, the 2 out of 5. It's a 2 out of 5
yeah.
category,
And again, this is the last time this category is exciting.
but it's pretty exciting. I got to say,
It
Joyce, I'm
is
psyched to
exciting,
see what happens.
but this is like the last time we can talk about it like this,
Yeah.
you know? So I don't know. I have to think about this more. I have a couple more days.
For supporting actor, the nominees were De Niro, Downey, Jacob Elordi for Saltburn, hell yes, Ryan Gosling, Paul Mescal, and Dominic Sessa.
Robert De Niro, the only acting nominee for Killers of the Flower Moon.
So this
Great.
kind of pushed me to make a change, though maybe it's stupid because, like you were saying earlier, Ruffalo probably was top 4.
Yeah, he could have been 4, 5, and then jury didn't pick him.
I'm gonna go with Defoe and then Dominic Sessa at the Oscars. I just feel like the movie is so beloved, and I think he's a co-lead, and I think it's like one of those performances that'll
It's the
pop
trio.
here,
Yeah.
and there you go. So I'm dropping Ruffalo, and I'll keep Defoe in. This is stupid because I should just keep them both in and get 4 out of 5
I know.
instead of
Like I do
getting
want to
the
put Dominic
Goldberg.
in, and my only option is to drop one of the Poor Things guys, whom I've had in since September. But
I'm dropping Ruffalo. I think that's going to be an easy. It's easy to imagine that being a stub based on what we've seen play out for the last like 4 weeks.
he's he's going into the Oscars nominations with just a Globe nomination and Critics' Choice, I guess.
With 6 slots in both.
Yeah. So he missed both. So he missed SAG, which I think is a bigger deal than
Mhm.
juried BAFTA, you know, but this just confirms he wasn't top 3. But then
I,
the like Willem also missed the long list. So like that's my whole issue with them. Like they're not consistently showing up together anywhere.
so, and again, this will all be wrong on Tuesday when they both get in. So I'm saying there's a big asterisk to what I'm going to say here, and it's hard to do a post mortem on something that hasn't happened yet. But I'm thinking now, looking at it, is that like similarly to like what I was saying earlier about Margot, and now I have Margot back in, so maybe I'll put Mark back. I just feel like he is a universally, it's a good, like people like the performance, like him a lot in it. It's very funny, but he's not going to be your top pick. And I think like Downey and Gosling are at the top, and then De Niro, and then I think you're having people like Sessa or Defoe who have more passion individually than Mark, who's probably on a lot of ballots at like 4 or 5, and that's going to keep him off, and that could end up keeping him off. We'll see if that actually plays
I
out.
mean, remember after I saw Poor Things, I said to you, I was like, I actually prefer Willem to Mark because Mark was the one getting all the ink out of
Yeah.
Venice, right? And I felt like people were just surprised that he was funny because they've never seen him do this type of
Mm-hmm.
performance. But I felt like William had the more affecting performance, and he actually has a full arc in the movie.
Yep.
So what if they both miss?
If they both miss, that's
Then
possible.
like Dominic, and then what, like Sterling K. Brown?
What about Milo Chado Grainer? as
I
like
don't
a
think that's happening.
out
It's
of
like
left field.
no, because he's a little boy.
I know, but like if the movie is like beloved as it is, it could actually happen, I think.
Like they didn't do Jacob Tremblay,
Eh,
you
I
know.
think if they both miss, I would probably go to Sterling based on the fact that I think American Fiction is going to be much stronger with Academy than it's been anywhere else. And so, but I don't think I'm going to predict both of them missing.
Yeah, I do want to put Dominic in, but I would have to drop one of them.
I dropped Ruffalo like an idiot, and we'll see. I'm probably going to stick that and keep it and say it's fine.
Dominic is still 100-1 here, so I feel like I need to.
That's why I got him in there right now.
I'm just gonna put him in there right now. I'm gonna drop Mark. Sorry to Mark.
Sorry to that man. Any other ones here you want to look at? We could do the BAFTA. I mean, casting you mentioned, but it was All But Strangers, Anatomy of a Fall, Holdovers, How to Have Sex, and Killers of Flower Moon. Cinematographer was Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest, which is what I have at the Oscars. So I feel like that might go 5 for 5. Editing was Anatomy of a Fall, Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and the Zone of Interest. And we both have Anatomy in, I believe, in editing.
Yes.
I still have Barbie in. I'm still actually I'm more confident in Barbie. I don't know. I'm confident in Barbie still over Zone of Interest, but I guess we'll see.
I think Anatomy went 7 for 7 in its long list
Yeah.
stories. So
Costumes, Barbie, Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things.
like Oppie getting in here.
It's like I have almost I think I have the exact ones at the Oscars. Yeah, Barbie, Poor Things, Flower Moon, Napoleon, and Oppenheimer. So way to go past me. Uh
I think I have yeah, I have Maestro in.
and then makeup and hair, Flower Moon, Maestro, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. No Gold and No Society of Snow. I don't know if they were even long listed though.
Society of the Snow didn't do that well here.
I might go back to Flower Moon.
Unlike All Quiet on the Western
Yeah.
Front.
I might go back to Flower Moon and makeup instead of Society of the Snow because I had it in there and I dropped it. Score for the music heads among us: Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Saltburn, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Is this my burner account?
Are you in BAFTA?
Just
Are
am
you
I
a
in
BAFTA
BAFTA? Did
member?
I vote for this? Way to go, me! I didn't even remember voting for it.
I can't believe
That's
you're in
an
BAFTA and you didn't tell us.
unimpeachable list right there. Hard to argue with any of those picks.
And yet we both have Indiana Jones at the Oscars.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to drop Zone of Interest now and put
Or
Spider-Verse
Spidey.
in, and then I'm going to keep Indiana Jones in the 5th spot. I want to get Spider-Verse in. I got it. I can't go against my boy Daniel Pemberton. Come on. What are we doing here?
I do hope he gets in because his only Oscar nomination thus far, he's had some banger scores, but his only nomination so far is for that song from Chicago 7.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, as even a fan of Chicago 7, not the nomination you want, I think. I just think Zone of Interest did so well here, and I'm like, I don't know if it was even long. I don't think it was long listed though, right? Wasn't the score? Did the score miss this or no? I actually don't remember.
I don't remember.
Let me see.
But like, yeah, the zone score is not like a very
Yeah,
traditional
Zone missed here, so it
score.
wasn't even eligible.
But it's eligible at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So
I kind of think it might be a little too out there. I will say John Williams was eligible here. They did shortlist the indie score. What else for BAFTA? Production design: Barbie, Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Zone of Interest. Sound was Ferrari, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, and Zone of Interest. I still have Killer in there instead of Ferrari. I'm going with the history of Ren Kleiss.
but Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible is great sound. The sound and the train thing at the end. I mean, that movie rules. What a great movie. Best picture contender in my mind. Special visual effects were Creator, Guardians, Mission Impossible, Napoleon, and Poor Things. So Poor Things makes it here.
Mm-hmm.
No Society of the Snow.
Again, Society just bombed, basically.
I might put Poor Things in and leave Society out too. And visual effects. Put Poor Things back in. I took it out after I missed it the Guild.
Like the BAFTA voter you are.
And then that's it. So we did get an email, Joyce, about this very
Since BAFTA?
we got
Wow.
a thing about BAFTA. BAFTA nominations rant. LOL is the subject.
How long is this?
It's awfully long. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing, but
Just
maybe I.
hearing you say rant, I'm like, Jesus, how long is this?
Hi, Chris and Joyce. I'm Juan Manuel, but everyone calls me JK. I've been watching you nonstop ever since forever, and I'm finally writing to you guys. This is a rant. LOL. Chris, if you want to skip it, great, but at least cover the last paragraph in bold. And The Biggest Loser, I think, is interesting. Oh, and before I get Joyce, I love your log cushion. I remember you said it was swag from one film, but I can't remember which. Could you remind me? And please get me one. Ha 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 ha.
I can get you one. You have to hit up Showtime. This is my log pillow from Twin Peaks when it was from TCA. They handed it out before the panel for the return. And that was in LA, so I had to expand my suitcase and clear out space to bring this back.
Wow.
Yeah,
But
I
it
had
was
to
worth
like
it.
leave other swag behind to get this back.
It was worth it,
So
I would say. So
yeah.
I'm gonna skip the manifesto and just go to the
Okay.
end here. The bolded paragraph. JK, thank you for doing this. Makes it a lot easier. The biggest loser today wasn't Kills of the Flower Moon. BAFTAs really hated it with all those directing, screenplay, and acting snubs. But the biggest losers are the juries. What a terrible work they did. For them, Anatomy is the only film directed by a woman who is worthy of a nomination for Best Director or Film, when you have plenty of options with Barbie and Past Lives, even Saltburn, and obviously no person of color directed a good film. If the job of the juries is to make sure there's inclusion by picking up female and people of color for the nods, then they're doing a terrible job, just unnecessarily messing up the nominations with no discernible benefit. Cathartic LOL chaos all around, but not really in a good way. Take care, Joyce and Chris.
Thank you, JK.
All of I feel like this is very, I would say, like, in terms of the crisis priorities in on Earth and in the entertainment industry, how awards are voted for is got to be like
Very, very minuscule. Yeah.
just way at the bottom, like
Yeah.
through the Earth's core.
Not important.
But man, every one of these groups, I feel like, has different. Like we talked about this earlier, like with the Emmys earlier this week. This one, every one of these is just there's something they're trying to, I don't know what, and make it work, and it just makes it more complicated and actually less inclusive at times, and like seems like really not working. I guess I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but
I mean, like what I said earlier, it's like the jury system is bad. Like this is not the right fix for BAFTA's issues with race.
no,
And yeah, like it's making us like look at people not for their work, and not necessarily based on merit. And yes, like obviously awards are not solely voted on based on merit. There's other factors going that, people vote for a film or a person.
no.
But like because we know the system was instated because of Margot Robbie's double nominations and a lot of, historically white categories. I like you expect them to nominate people of color and more women. But I mean, I don't want you to vote for me because I'm a woman and I'm not white. Like I do want you to vote for me because you think my work was worthy. Like I think that's the other thing there too. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do think the juries picked things they liked
I
ultimately.
think that's true, and that's why I think it's like for like we were saying, like for Andrew Scott, that's a tough beat. If you're still
Yeah.
holding on hope, then he could get in. Um, so otherwise, they didn't make a lot of change. So like we said,
It's still, like I said, it's still the categories I'm still uncertain about. It like really made no drastic difference.
just to recap finally, for director for me, I have now Glazer and Justine Triet and Alexander Payne. I dropped Yorgos Lanthimos and Greta Gerwig. And I think you have the same five now too, which you've had
Yes.
since August. So you should take a big bow for that. For best actress, I have Lily, Emma, Sandra, Carey Mulligan, and now Margot Robbie again. And sorry to Anjanae Ellis Taylor, who I think will come up just short.
I still think that category is ripe for something crazy, but I don't know what it is.
Uh,
Because that's the top five.
yep. For best actor, I stuck with what I had from earlier: Killian, Paul, Brad. Jeffrey Wright and Coleman Domingo.
Also, I know like people have been saying, oh, Killian will win BAFTA, but like Paul can just sweep from here on out
I
too.
really think he might.
Like with how well holdovers did over
Mhm.
there.
Yep. Joyce, I will say this. This is just a random side note. This is like a 2-hour podcast, basically, based on yesterday's. But I rewatched Silver Linings Playbook the other day.
Of course you did.
And I know he was never going to win. He might have not even top 3, but that's the kind. I wish he won an Oscar for that, Bradley Cooper, because that's like the ideal way. I think that's his ideal pitch and tone and performance. And I just wish he would do that again, something like that. It would be great. Supporting actress recap. I have Divine at the 2 out of 5. Divine and Emily, and then Sandra, Penelope, and Rosamund. Stuck with that.
I don't know.
And then for a supporting actor, I did put Dominic Sessa in place of Mark Ruffalo. So,
Yeah, I don't
all
know.
right. So we'll be back then.
How many of these will you change before your Tuesday?
I mean, I don't know. Many, maybe. I could feel, here's what I feel. I could feel supporting actors. I could be swayed to like put Danielle back in. And maybe director, my heart will win out and I'll put Greta back in somehow. But I think I'm going to try to stick with my head and what we're seeing.
I love that we wasted people's time an hour and a half ago to make changes.
We knew that was going to happen. We said it then. It wasn't wasting time. I think it's really great to hear their thought process, and I hope you
Yeah,
agree.
because I do
appreciate it
think
as
like if
well.
you just look at what we have online, it's like, why the hell did you do that? Like I have my reasons. Sometimes they're stupid,
Yeah, I
but
think this is a really nuanced and very detailed conversation that will help people with their picks. So we'll see you Tuesday, Joyce, after the nominations. Can't wait. All right, bye.
just savor the last days of phase 1.
I can't wait. All right, goodbye.